Alaska is a state on the edge of reality. Glaciers crack like cannon fire. Rivers vanish into steaming chasms, and mountains loom like ancient titans frozen in time. Here, the sky erupts in emerald flames, and landscapes shift with a force that defies logic. Today, we will go on a journey past Alaska's most unreal places and fascinating wonders that you have to visit. Are you ready to witness the last frontier at its most extreme? When Nova Rupta erupted in 1912, it unleashed a fury so cataclysmic that it reshaped the land forever. The Valley of 10,000 Smokes, now part of Katmai National Park, was born from this unprecedented explosion. Ash and molten rock buried the surrounding landscape under hundreds of feet of debris, extinguishing entire rivers and erasing forests in an instant. What remains today is a hauntingly beautiful expanse of steaming fissures, hardened lava flows, and a ghostly, ash-coated wilderness. The valley's name is no exaggeration. Venting fumaroles once filled the air with billowing columns of steam, rising eerily from the earth like the breath of sleeping giants. Though many have faded with time, some still persist, whispering reminders of the inferno that once consumed this land. Hikers who venture into this desolate realm walk on the very crust of history, where the power of the earth is laid bare, raw and unfiltered. The silence is absolute, save for the occasional gust of wind or the distant call of an eagle soaring high above. It is an alien landscape, an untamed world that feels more suited to another planet than our own. Further north, hidden in the depths of the Arctic wilderness, lies the gates of the Arctic National Park. Unlike any other protected area in the United States, this vast, roadless expanse is a domain of pure, unyielding wilderness. Towering peaks of the Brooks Range stand like sentinels over the untouched tundra, their jagged silhouettes cutting through the endless northern sky. Carved by time and glaciers, these peaks guard a landscape of rolling valleys, braided rivers, and boundless solitude. There are no trails here, no visitor centers, no signs of human interference, only the pulse of nature, untamed and uninterrupted. Wolves prowl unseen through dense willow thickets, while grizzlies roam the riverbanks, searching for the telltale shimmer of migrating salmon. The caribou herds of the western Arctic move in waves across the land, their hooves drumming against the permafrost in an ancient rhythm older than memory itself. Time ceases to hold meaning here. Days stretch endlessly beneath the midnight sun, and nights fold into an abyss of darkness when winter's grasp tightens. To step into this realm is to step into a world that remains as it has for millennia, untouched, pure, and unforgiving in its beauty. On the remote Aleutian Islands, where land and sea collide in a fury of wind and waves, the Bogoslov volcano rises from the depths like a specter of fire and stone. This volcanic island, barely visible above the frigid waters of the Bering Sea, is a place of constant transformation, shaped by violent eruptions that build and destroy it in equal measure. A ghostly, steaming landmass, Bogoslov exists in a state of perpetual rebirth. One moment, its shores expand, its black sands stretching outward like fingers grasping at the sea. The next, a new explosion reshapes its face, sending plumes of ash skyward and boiling the surrounding ocean into a frenzy. It is an island that refuses to be tamed, a living, breathing entity sculpted by the forces of creation and destruction. Seabirds nest in its cliffs, oblivious to the chaos beneath their feet, while marine mammals gather along its shores, drawn by the nutrient-rich waters churned up by the island's volatile nature. It is a place of fleeting existence, a testament to the restless power of the earth itself. In the heart of the Wrangell St. Elias National Park, where mountains stretch beyond the horizon and glaciers spill down like frozen rivers from the heavens, lies the towering Mount St. Elias. At 18,008 feet, it is one of the highest and most formidable peaks in North America. Its sheer, unforgiving slopes rise from the Gulf of Alaska with an abruptness that defies logic, climbing nearly from sea level to the sky in a breathtaking display of nature's grandeur. Here, the ice never melts. Ancient glaciers, vast and creaking under their own weight, flow down from the heights, carving their path through valleys older than time itself. The Malaspina Glacier, the largest Piedmont glacier in the world, unfurls like a frozen sea at the mountain's feet, a mesmerizing expanse of ice stretching as far as the eye can see. To gaze upon Mount St. Elias is to witness nature at its most extreme, where altitude, weather, and the sheer brutality of the environment make human presence fleeting at best. The silence here is deafening, punctuated only by the distant rumble of shifting ice or the occasional crack of an avalanche as it thunders down the slopes. This is a realm for the truly untamed, where the mountains still belong only to themselves. Deep within the frozen reaches of Alaska's interior, the otherworldly ice caves of the Mendenhall Glacier conceal a hidden realm of surreal, crystalline beauty. These caves, sculpted by the slow, relentless melting of the glacier's underbelly, glow with an ethereal blue light so vivid it seems almost unreal. Crawling through their narrow, glistening passageways feels like entering a dream, where time slows and reality bends. The ice overhead, carved into delicate arches and swirling formations, shimmers in endless shades of sapphire and cerulean, illuminated by the faint glow of the outside world. Water drips softly from the ceilings, echoing through the frozen corridors like whispers from another time. The walls, translucent and hypnotic, hold secrets locked in ice for thousands of years, ancient air bubbles, frozen remnants of a world long past, trapped in an endless slumber. Yet this beauty is fleeting. The caves shift and collapse with the changing seasons, each new formation as temporary as it is breathtaking. No two visits are ever the same. What exists today may be gone tomorrow, lost to the slow but unstoppable march of the glacier itself. To step inside is to witness something truly ephemeral, a glimpse of nature's most delicate artistry, destined to vanish before the world can fully grasp its magnificence. Towering above the vast expanse of Denali National Park, the behemoth of Denali itself stands as North America's tallest peak, rising to a staggering 20,310 feet. It is a titan of ice and stone, a mountain so massive that it creates its own weather, shrouding itself in swirling clouds and fierce, unpredictable winds. Its slopes, blanketed in eternal snow, glisten under the Arctic sun, while sheer cliffs and jagged ridges create a formidable maze of ice falls and crevasses. The mountain's presence is commanding, its very existence a challenge to those who dare to stand in its shadow. The native Koyukon Athabascans called it the High One, a name that speaks to its dominance over the land, and to this day, it remains a place of reverence and legend. Few who attempt its ascent reach the summit, for Denali does not yield easily. The air thins, the temperature plummets, and the winds howl with relentless fury, as if the mountain itself is testing those who would claim its peak. But even for those who remain below, Denali is mesmerizing. The mountain changes color with the shifting light, glowing pink in the alpenglow of dusk, then turning ghostly white under the glow of the northern lights. It is a land of extremes, where the raw power of nature is displayed in its most unforgiving, breathtaking form. On the western edge of the state, where the tundra stretches endlessly toward the horizon, lies a place where the land seems to breathe. Alaska's mysterious Pingos. These massive ice-cored hills rise unexpectedly from the otherwise flat Arctic landscape, some towering over 100 feet high. They are formed by the relentless expansion of underground ice, pushing the Earth upward like frozen volcanoes. Each Pingo is a living entity, growing, shifting, and eventually collapsing as the ice within melts, leaving behind craters and depressions that resemble scars upon the land. The most famous of these is the Ibyuk Pingo near the village of Tuktoyaktuk, one of the tallest in the world, a towering mound that stands as a testament to the hidden forces at work beneath the tundra. The sight of these bizarre formations, seemingly out of place in an otherwise unbroken landscape, is both eerie and mesmerizing. In the endless daylight of the Arctic summer, they cast long shadows across the land, and in winter, they stand as frozen monuments to the quiet yet unstoppable power of permafrost. Few places on Earth possess such a tangible sense of time, where the land itself seems to shift and evolve with the passing centuries, revealing the slow but ceaseless pulse of nature. Farther south, within the untouched wilderness of the Tongass National Forest, lies a spectacle of raw, untamed power, Alaska's legendary tidal bores. At Turnagain Arm, a narrow inlet near Anchorage, the ocean performs an astonishing feat each day, as a massive single wave surges up the inlet against the natural flow of the river. This tidal bore, one of the largest in the world, can reach speeds of up to 15 miles per hour, creating a rolling wall of water that sweeps across the silty flats with an almost supernatural force. Unlike a normal tide, which rises and falls gradually, the Turnagain Arm bore rushes in suddenly, a churning, foaming surge that can reach heights of 10 feet or more. It is a phenomenon driven by the gravitational pull of the moon and the unique funnel shape of the inlet, a meeting of forces that turns the tide into an unstoppable flood. Locals and visitors alike gather along the shores to witness this incredible event, watching as the wave rolls in, sometimes carrying daring surfers who attempt to ride its relentless force for miles. Bald eagles circle overhead, while beluga whales, drawn by the rich nutrients stirred up by the surge, surface in the churning waters. The power of the bore is hypnotic, a reminder of the ocean's immense influence over the land and the delicate balance that exists between the two. Deeper into the wilderness, nestled among the remote peaks of the Chugach Mountains, lies the surreal wonder of the Kastner Ice Cave. This breathtaking cave, hidden within the depths of the Kastner Glacier, is a world of frozen elegance, where ice walls glow with an unearthly blue, illuminated by the shifting light of the Arctic sun. To step inside is to enter a frozen cathedral, where shimmering icicles hang like chandeliers from the ceiling, and the air is thick with an ancient, almost otherworldly silence. The walls, sculpted by centuries of melt and refreeze, form intricate patterns of swirling ice, each detail a testament to the slow, relentless movement of the glacier. As the seasons change, so too does the cave, reshaping itself in a delicate, ongoing transformation. The blue glow intensifies on clear days, turning the cavern into a luminous sanctuary, where every surface seems to radiate with an internal light. But this fragile beauty is fleeting. The glacier is in constant motion, its caves forming and collapsing with the years, making each visit a unique and ephemeral experience. The Kastner Ice Cave is a place of impermanence, a frozen dream that exists only as long as the glacier allows, before vanishing into the ever-changing landscape of ice and time. Beyond the realm of ice and mountains, hidden within the depths of the Alaskan rainforest, lies the enigmatic Annan Creek. Unlike the icy landscapes that define much of the state, this lush green oasis is a haven of life, where the forests pulse with the movement of creatures both great and small. But Annan Creek is no ordinary wilderness. This is one of the best places in the world to witness the raw power of bears in their most primal state. Each summer, the creek becomes the stage for one of nature's most dramatic spectacles, as hundreds of black and brown bears gather along its banks to feast on the annual salmon run. The air is thick with the scent of fish. The water churns with the frenzy of the hunt. And the bears, each an apex predator in their own right, engage in a delicate dance of dominance and survival. Some wait patiently at the falls, swiping fish from midair with an effortless flick of their massive paws, while others plunge headfirst into the water, emerging with writhing salmon clutched between their teeth. Eagles circle above, waiting for scraps, while wolves prowl the edges of the forest, drawn by the abundance of food. The energy of the place is electric, a glimpse into a world where the ancient rhythms of predator and prey play out as they have for millennia. To stand at the viewing platform and witness this raw, untamed power is to feel the pulse of nature itself, a reminder that in the wild, survival is both brutal and beautiful. Deep in the Arctic reaches of northern Alaska, where the tundra stretches endlessly toward the horizon, lies a place so stark, so eerily silent, that it feels as though the earth itself has been paused in time. Teshekpuk Lake. This massive body of water, one of the largest in the Arctic, is a world unto itself, an isolated oasis in a land of ice and permafrost. It is a place of extremes, where the endless summer daylight gives way to the long, unbroken darkness of winter, where the lake transforms from a shimmering, ice-free expanse into a frozen wasteland battered by fierce Arctic winds. But despite its remoteness, Teshekpuk is a sanctuary of life, a hidden gem within the vast tundra. Each year, thousands of caribou migrate across its shores, their hooves thundering against the frozen ground in a spectacle that has remained unchanged for millennia. The lake is a haven for birds, drawing waterfowl and shorebirds from around the world, a last refuge before they take flight on their epic migrations. Even in winter, when the ice tightens its grip, the land remains restless. Foxes weave through the snowdrifts, polar bears prowl the edges, and beneath the frozen surface, the lake's waters hide secrets that have yet to be uncovered. Teshekpuk is a paradox, a place of desolation, yet full of life, a world of silence, yet teeming with movement. It is Alaska at its most raw, a reminder that even in the coldest, most unforgiving places, nature finds a way to thrive. Further south, where the Pacific crashes against Alaska's rugged coastline, lies a marvel that defies logic, Koyukuk River's floating ice disk. This bizarre natural phenomenon occurs when perfectly circular sheets of ice form and spin slowly in the river's current, moving in eerie synchronization like the hands of some ancient celestial clock. These floating disks, often mistaken for something otherworldly, are created by a delicate balance of physics. Rotating currents carve the ice into near-perfect circles, which then spin gracefully, untouched by the surrounding chaos of rushing water and jagged ice. The Koyukuk River, winding through the endless boreal forests of interior Alaska, provides the perfect stage for this mesmerizing event. a fleeting spectacle that lasts only as long as the delicate conditions allow. Locals and visitors alike stand in awe, watching as these icy wheels turn, glowing softly beneath the northern lights. Scientists marvel at the phenomenon, yet it remains an enigma, a reminder that even the most improbable wonders can emerge from the simplest forces of nature. The floating ice disks are a glimpse into a hidden world of Arctic magic, where water and ice move together in an elegant, mysterious dance. Hidden within the labyrinth of fjords and glacial valleys of Prince William Sound, a secret world of light and ice exists beneath the surface. Blackstone Bay's bioluminescent waters. While Alaska is known for its towering glaciers and pristine wilderness, few realize that beneath the inky depths of this remote bay, an entirely different spectacle unfolds. On certain summer nights, when the conditions are just right, the cold, nutrient-rich waters of Blackstone Bay come alive with an eerie, electric blue glow as bioluminescent plankton drift through the currents. Every movement, from the flick of a fish's tail to the gentle lapping of waves against a kayak, ignites a dazzling display of shimmering light, like a constellation of stars trapped beneath the surface. To paddle through these glowing waters is to experience something almost supernatural, a silent, ethereal journey where every stroke of the oar sends ripples of light cascading into the darkness. Above, towering glaciers loom, their icy faces reflecting the faint glow of the midnight sun, while below, the ocean pulses with its own quiet luminescence. It is a hidden wonder, a secret tucked away in one of the most remote corners of the world. A place where light dances upon the waves in a spectacle few will ever witness. Amidst the vast wilderness of the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta, a geological wonder rises from the landscape, an anomaly in a land dominated by low-lying tundra, Castle Rock. This towering, isolated rock formation juts dramatically from the earth, a monolith of stone standing defiantly against the sky. Its sheer cliffs and jagged edges give it the appearance of an ancient fortress, weathered by time and sculpted by the relentless forces of wind and ice. For centuries, Castle Rock has been a beacon for travelers, a landmark for native peoples navigating the expansive delta. It is a place steeped in legend, a silent sentinel that has witnessed the slow passage of time in one of the most remote regions on Earth. As the sun sets over the tundra, the rock glows in hues of crimson and gold, casting long shadows across the land, its silhouette stark against the endless horizon. It is a reminder of the forces that shaped this land: volcanic eruptions, shifting ice, and the slow, grinding passage of glaciers. In a world where everything seems to change, Castle Rock stands unmoved, a relic of an older Alaska, untouched by the march of time. Beneath the icy waters of Resurrection Bay, a forgotten world lies in eerie silence, the ghostly remains of the SS Aleutian. This sunken relic, a passenger steamship that met its fate in 1929, rests quietly on the ocean floor, preserved in the frigid depths of the North Pacific. Unlike other shipwrecks lost to time, the Aleutian is astonishingly intact, its hull encrusted with coral and its decks still eerily recognizable. Schools of fish dart through its rusted corridors, while giant Pacific octopuses slither through broken windows, reclaiming the vessel as part of the deep. The cold, oxygen-poor waters have kept the ship in a remarkable state of preservation, making it a paradise for divers willing to brave the icy currents to witness this underwater time capsule. The wreck is a haunting yet beautiful sight, a silent testament to the lives lost and the power of the sea. The Aleutian, once a proud vessel that ferried passengers along Alaska's rugged coast, now rests in eternal solitude beneath the waves, a ghost of the past lingering in the depths. At the very edge of the Arctic, where the land dissolves into the frozen expanse of the Beaufort Sea, lies one of the strangest and most elusive phenomena in the natural world, the Arctic mirage known as Fata Morgana. Unlike ordinary mirages, which shimmer like distant pools of water on hot pavement, the Fata Morgana is a layered, shifting illusion that bends reality itself. On the vast ice plains of northern Alaska, where the horizon stretches infinitely in every direction, these mirages take shape, transforming icebergs into towering castles, distant ships into floating cities, and ordinary landscapes into impossible dreamscapes. Caused by extreme temperature inversions, where warm air layers sit above cold, the phenomenon warps light into surreal, shifting visions. Explorers of old once mistook these ghostly apparitions for islands, forever chasing lands that did not exist. Even today, travelers in the Arctic witness the strange sight of mountains rising from the sea, only to watch them dissolve into nothingness moments later. The Fata Morgana is a reminder that Alaska is a land of illusions, a place where reality bends and nature plays tricks on those who dare to wander too far into its frozen embrace. High above the frozen tundra of northern Alaska, where the land is a vast, unbroken expanse of permafrost and sky, a geological marvel unlike any other stretches across the Arctic wilderness, the Okpilak batholith. This strange and ancient formation is a massive exposed dome of granite, a relic of violent volcanic activity that predates human history. Rising starkly from the otherwise flat landscape, the batholith is a fortress of stone, its jagged cliffs and towering spires resembling the ruins of some forgotten kingdom. The surface is rough and weathered, scarred by millennia of wind and ice, yet within its cracks and crevices, life clings defiantly. Lichens, some of the oldest living organisms on Earth, form colorful patches of green and orange against the gray rock, their slow, creeping growth a testament to the patience of time. Snowy owls perch silently upon its ledges, watching over the tundra like spectral guardians, while Arctic foxes weave through its rocky corridors, their white coats blending seamlessly with the frost-covered stone. The Okpilak batholith is a place untouched by human hands, a window into a prehistoric world that has stood unchanged for thousands of years. Here, in the heart of the Arctic, the land itself speaks of ancient upheavals and forgotten time, whispering secrets only the wind can understand. Deep in the wild, rugged interior of Alaska, where the boreal forests stretch endlessly and the rivers carve their way through ancient valleys, lies the mystical and enigmatic Chandalar Shelf. This remote and otherworldly plateau, nestled high within the Brooks Range, is a place of eerie beauty and haunting solitude. Unlike the jagged peaks that dominate much of the region, the Chandalar Shelf is a sweeping, almost surreal landscape, a vast, windswept tundra that appears to hover between heaven and earth. Caribou roam freely here, their silhouettes ghostly against the golden tundra in autumn, while wolves track their movements with quiet precision, their eyes glowing like embers in the twilight. In winter, the shelf transforms into an endless sea of ice and snow, its surface glistening beneath the ethereal glow of the aurora borealis. The remoteness of this place is absolute. No roads lead here, no trails mark the land, and few have ever set foot upon its untouched expanse. To stand upon the Chandalar Shelf is to witness the raw, unfiltered heart of Alaska, a place where the silence is so profound it becomes almost deafening, where the vastness of the world presses in on all sides, reminding those who venture here just how small they truly are. Off the coast of southeast Alaska, hidden within the dense, mist-shrouded forests of the Alexander Archipelago, lies a place of unimaginable beauty and wonder, the breathtakingly rare Blue Lake. Unlike the glacial-fed lakes that dominate much of the state, this hidden jewel is of an almost unnatural color. Its waters an electric, glowing shade of blue so vibrant it seems as though it has been plucked from another world. The effect is caused by light scattering through the lake's unique mineral composition, creating a hue so intense that even the surrounding landscape appears to take on a dreamlike quality. Towering Sitka spruce trees frame its edges, their moss-draped branches casting shadows over the shimmering water, while bald eagles circle high above, their piercing cries echoing through the stillness. The lake is so isolated, so untouched, that it feels almost sacred, its waters impossibly clear, reflecting the sky in a way that makes it seem as though the heavens have descended to the earth. Few venture here, as there are no marked paths, no roads leading to its shores. Only those who know of its existence, or who stumble upon it by chance, ever witness its unearthly splendor. The Blue Lake is a secret held by the forest, a piece of hidden magic tucked away in the vast, untamed wilderness of Alaska. On the storm-battered coast of the Aleutian Islands, where the Pacific Ocean meets the Bering Sea in an eternal battle of wind and waves, lies one of the most isolated and hauntingly beautiful places in all of Alaska, Boulder Island. A volcanic fragment cast adrift in the raging waters, Boulder is a land shaped by fire and fury, its cliffs rising sharply from the sea like the broken remains of some long-forgotten world. This remote outpost is one of the most significant seabird breeding sites on the planet, home to an astonishing array of avian life. More than 4 million birds nest here each year, their cries filling the air in a cacophony of life that stands in stark contrast to the island's otherwise desolate nature. Puffins, auklets, and mooras cling to the sheer rock faces, their colonies stretching as far as the eye can see, while albatrosses ride the fierce ocean winds, their wings outstretched like ghostly apparitions against the stormy sky. Landing on Boulder is nearly impossible. Its jagged cliffs and relentless surf make it one of the most inaccessible islands in the Aleutians, a fortress guarded by the elements themselves. Those who do manage to set foot upon its rocky shores are greeted by a world where time stands still, where nature reigns supreme, and where the echoes of the Earth's raw, untamed power can still be felt in every gust of wind and crashing wave. Hidden beneath the endless snows of the Arctic, in a place where winter never truly ends, lies one of Alaska's most incredible and least known wonders, the permafrost tunnels of Fox, Alaska. Dug deep into the frozen ground outside Fairbanks, these tunnels reveal a world locked in ice for thousands of years, a frozen archive of Earth's distant past. Walking through them is like stepping back in time. Walls of solid ice hold the preserved remains of prehistoric plants, while mammoth bones, still intact, protrude from the frozen walls as if they had only just fallen. The ground beneath one's feet is not rock or soil, but ancient permafrost, a frozen layer that has held secrets of the past since the Ice Age. Scientists explore these tunnels to uncover evidence of Earth's changing climate, while visitors are left in awe of the strange, subterranean landscape, where frost crystals grow like delicate flowers and the silence is so absolute that even the faintest breath seems to echo through the frozen corridors. The air is heavy with the scent of ancient Earth, the remnants of a world long buried beneath the ice. The Fox permafrost tunnels are more than just an underground marvel. They are a glimpse into time itself, a preserved record of a world that existed before humanity, waiting in silence beneath the frozen Alaskan soil. Far above the Arctic Circle, where the land is dominated by eternal ice and the northern lights stretch across the sky in endless waves of color, lies the unparalleled wonder of the Arctic National Wildlife Refuge's frozen waterfalls. Unlike the roaring cascades of summer, these waterfalls exist in a state of suspended animation, frozen in time as temperatures plummet to unimaginable lows. Immense curtains of ice hang from cliffs, their once fluid motion captured in breathtaking crystalline sculptures. The sheer scale of these frozen falls is staggering. Some stretch hundreds of feet, their icicles gleaming like swords of glass beneath the pale Arctic sun. In the dead of winter, they glow an unearthly shade of blue, as if lit from within, radiating a cold so deep it seems to reach into one's very bones. Few ever witness these natural ice cathedrals, for the journey here is one of endurance and hardship, a trek across some of the most inhospitable terrain on Earth. Yet those who stand before them know they have glimpsed something truly extraordinary, an ephemeral masterpiece carved by nature itself, existing only for a fleeting moment before the warmth of summer returns to set them free. Rising from the windswept tundra of the Seward Peninsula, the towering granite formations of the Lost Coast Pillars stand like the weathered ruins of an ancient civilization. These massive stone monoliths, shaped over millions of years by relentless Arctic winds and icy storms, are among the most mysterious and awe-inspiring geological formations in all of Alaska. Scattered across the barren landscape, some of the pillars stand alone, while others cluster together in eerie, almost deliberate arrangements. Their surfaces, rough and scarred by time, bear the marks of nature's slow and patient sculpting, their jagged peaks rising defiantly against the vast northern sky. In the dim light of the Arctic sunset, when the last golden rays stretch across the horizon, the pillars cast long, dramatic shadows that shift and stretch across the land like the silhouettes of forgotten sentinels. The silence here is absolute, broken only by the keening wind that howls through the gaps between the stones. Few have ever ventured deep enough into the remote expanse to stand among these towering sentinels, and those who do speak of a place unlike any other. A place where time feels suspended, where the weight of history presses against the land, and where nature itself seems to whisper the secrets of a lost world. On the southern coast, where the Pacific meets towering cliffs and dark, rugged shorelines, lies a hidden marvel that few have ever laid eyes on: the Devil's Cauldron. This swirling, churning vortex of water, created by the violent collision of ocean tides and subterranean currents, is a force of nature unlike any other. Hidden within a deep, cavernous sea grotto, the water is in constant motion, spiraling in a hypnotic, ever-changing whirlpool that can shift from serene to ferocious in the blink of an eye. The sound is deafening, the roar of water crashing against rock, the deep, guttural growl of the ocean being pulled into the abyss, the echoing cries of seabirds that wheel high above, caught in the endless draft of rising mist. Legends abound about the Devil's Cauldron. Sailors of old whispered that it was a gateway to the underworld, a place where the sea itself devoured anything foolish enough to drift too close. Even today, the grotto remains a place of mystery, a forbidden realm accessible only to those daring enough to navigate its treacherous waters. But those who do, who manage to peer into the swirling abyss, find themselves spellbound by its chaotic beauty, a mesmerizing, terrifying dance of water and darkness, where the ocean itself seems to breathe. Beyond the towering peaks of the Alaska Range, Nestled within a remote and untouched valley, lies a place that feels almost impossible: the hidden hot springs of the Talkeetna Wilderness. Unlike the well-known geothermal pools of the interior, these springs remain a secret, their steaming waters concealed within a landscape so wild and rugged that only the most determined explorers ever stumble upon them. Fed by underground geothermal activity, the pools emerge from the earth in a series of cascading terraces, their waters rich in minerals that glisten like liquid silver beneath the northern sun. Mist rises in delicate tendrils from the surface, curling and dissipating into the crisp mountain air, while snow-covered peaks loom in the distance, framing the scene in an almost surreal contrast of fire and ice. The water, heated by forces deep within the planet, is crystal clear, revealing smooth stones and intricate mineral formations beneath its surface. To step into these hidden waters, to feel their warmth seep into weary muscles while the frozen wilderness stretches endlessly in every direction, is to experience something almost sacred. A rare, perfect balance between comfort and the wild. A moment of stillness in a land defined by extremes. In the remote Alaskan Arctic, where the tundra stretches toward the ice-choked waters of the Beaufort Sea, an ancient phenomenon slumbers beneath the permafrost, the frozen methane bubbles of the North Slope. At first glance, the landscape appears barren, a vast, unbroken expanse of ice and snow. But beneath the surface, trapped within layers of frozen earth, lies one of the most unique and eerie sights in the natural world. Methane, seeping up from the deep reservoirs beneath the Arctic, becomes locked within the ice, forming perfectly preserved bubbles, delicate, ghostly orbs that seem suspended in time. When winter tightens its grip, these frozen pockets of gas create an alien landscape, their translucent forms visible just beneath the surface of frozen lakes and ponds, glimmering like trapped spirits beneath the ice. As temperatures rise and the permafrost weakens, the bubbles burst, releasing their long trapped gases in sudden, almost spectral plumes that ripple across the tundra like silent, fleeting explosions. The phenomenon is both beautiful and ominous, a visible reminder of the hidden forces at work beneath the Arctic, a world of frozen secrets waiting to be unlocked by time and change. On the rugged cliffs of the Kodiak Archipelago, where waves hammer the shoreline with relentless fury, stands a marvel of nature unlike any other: the Singing Rocks of Shuyak Island. These massive basalt formations, sculpted by the ceaseless winds and tides, possess a haunting and unexplained property. When the wind howls through their hollowed crevices, the rocks emit an eerie, melodic hum. The sound, at once soothing and unsettling, carries across the cliffs, rising and falling with the shifting air currents, like a chorus of unseen voices whispering through the stone. Indigenous Alutiiq legends speak of the rocks as sacred, a place where the spirits of the land and sea converge in an eternal song. Even modern visitors, though few in number, are left awestruck by the phenomenon. The sensation of standing amidst the jagged cliffs while the wind itself sings is nothing short of surreal. On stormy nights, when the gales reach their peak, the island becomes an otherworldly symphony, the rocks howling in unison, their voices lost in the deafening roar of the sea. Whether a trick of nature or something more, the Singing Rocks remain one of Alaska's most mesmerizing and enigmatic wonders. Hidden deep within the vast ice fields of Glacier Bay, a place of otherworldly beauty and mystery awaits: the Ice Cathedral of McBride Glacier. Unlike any ordinary ice cave, this breathtaking natural structure is a masterpiece of crystalline artistry, its cavernous interior illuminated by a dazzling blue glow. Stepping inside is like entering another dimension. The walls, carved smooth by centuries of melt and refreeze, shimmer like cut gemstones, their hues shifting from deep cobalt to radiant turquoise depending on the angle of light. Stalactites of pure ice hang from the ceiling like frozen chandeliers, their delicate formations catching and refracting the light in a mesmerizing display of prismatic color. The silence within the cathedral is almost deafening, broken only by the occasional crack and groan of the glacier shifting above. It is a place of impermanence, for the structure will not last forever. The ice melts, the cave collapses, and new formations rise in its place. To witness the ice cathedral is to witness something fleeting, a masterpiece of nature that exists only for a moment before vanishing into the ever-changing landscape of ice and time. Far above the Arctic Circle, where the tundra stretches endlessly and the sun vanishes for months at a time, lies one of the most enigmatic natural formations in all of Alaska, the Bering Glacier's ice waves. Unlike any other glacier in the world, the surface of Bering Glacier, the largest in North America, appears to have frozen mid-motion, as if the ice itself were caught in the throes of a tempest. Towering ridges and rolling crests of solid ice mimic the form of ocean waves, locked in place by time and temperature. These ice waves, some rising dozens of feet high, stretch for miles across the glacier's surface, their curves sculpted by wind and the relentless advance of the frozen river beneath. Sunlight refracts through the ancient ice, casting a soft blue glow over the undulating landscape, making the entire expanse look like a frozen sea in the moments before a storm. To walk among these massive formations is to feel the overwhelming power of a force that moves too slowly for the human eye to perceive, yet never ceases its journey forward. Bering Glacier is a place where the world feels ancient, where the ice remembers the centuries before mankind ever set foot upon this land, and where the frozen waves whisper of the ceaseless march of time. Deep within the labyrinth of fjords and mist-shrouded cliffs that define southeast Alaska, the mysterious Hidden Falls roars with untamed energy. This remote, thundering waterfall is veiled in perpetual mist, concealed within a valley so densely packed with ancient Sitka spruce that few even know of its existence. The sheer volume of water cascading from the rocky heights above creates an almost deafening roar, vibrating through the stone and sending tremors into the very ground beneath. Unlike the more famous waterfalls of the region, Hidden Falls is untouched, unmarked on most maps, its location passed down only through whispers among the few who have stumbled upon its secret. In spring, when the snowmelt swells its flow to its most ferocious, the waterfall transforms into a raging torrent, sending a continuous cloud of spray into the air that feeds the thick moss carpeting the surrounding cliffs. Birds of prey circle the skies above, their cries barely audible over the relentless roar of water, while bears prowl the mist-laden riverbanks, drawn by the salmon that gather in the turbulent pools below. To witness Hidden Falls is to stand before the raw, unchecked power of nature, a spectacle both humbling and mesmerizing, concealed deep within the wild heart of Alaska. On the vast unbroken tundra of the Arctic coastal plain, where the land appears featureless and eternal, a peculiar anomaly disrupts the monotony of the landscape: the polygons of Barrow. These geometric, almost mathematically perfect shapes, etched into the earth, resemble the cracked surface of a long-forgotten mosaic. Their formation is the result of permafrost dynamics, an intricate process where the freezing and thawing of the ground causes the soil to fracture in strange, ordered patterns. When viewed from above, the tundra is covered in an intricate network of hexagons, circles, and irregular polygons, a natural design so precise it seems impossible that it was not created by human hands. In the summer, when the snow recedes, these formations become even more pronounced, their dark outlines stark against the golden Arctic grasses. Indigenous people of the region have long known of their existence, speaking of them as the old tracks of the land spirits, remnants of a time when the earth itself walked and shifted. To see them firsthand is to be reminded that even in the most barren and remote places, nature moves in ways that defy explanation, creating beauty in the subtlest and strangest of forms. On the western edge of the Aleutian Islands, where the Pacific Ocean meets the frigid waters of the Bering Sea, an island emerges from the mist. A land so covered in volcanic vents and steaming fumaroles that it seems more akin to a prehistoric world than modern-day Alaska. This is Kiska Island, an uninhabited and hauntingly beautiful relic of war, where the remnants of a forgotten battle still linger among the ruins. During World War II, Kiska was occupied by Japanese forces, making it one of the only parts of the United States ever held by an enemy nation. Today, the island remains frozen in time, its black sand beaches still littered with rusted war relics, abandoned bunkers, decaying artillery, and the skeletal remains of sunken ships that rest just offshore. But what makes Kiska truly unbelievable is how nature has reclaimed it. Amidst the remnants of war, the island teems with life. Thousands of seabirds wheel in the sky above, their cries mixing with the eerie hissing of volcanic steam vents. The ground trembles beneath the feet as geothermal forces continue their slow, unrelenting reshaping of the island. Kiska is a paradox, a place of destruction and rebirth, where history and nature intertwine in a hauntingly beautiful landscape. Hidden within the jagged peaks of the Alaska Range, a realm of otherworldly beauty exists, unseen by most who travel the state. Known only to the most intrepid explorers, the Glass Mountains are a spectacle unlike anything else in the world. Unlike typical mountains of solid rock and snow, these peaks are laced with enormous veins of translucent quartz, their surfaces shimmering like polished gemstones under the Arctic sun. When light strikes at just the right angle, the mountains seem to glow from within, casting iridescent reflections across the surrounding valleys. In the heart of winter, when ice and frost cling to their crystalline surfaces, the entire range takes on the appearance of a frozen dreamscape. Peaks sculpted from pure light and ice, untouched by time. Few venture here, for the terrain is treacherous, the weather unpredictable, and the climb relentless. But those who do find themselves in the presence of something beyond mere beauty, a glimpse into a world where the boundaries between rock and glass, earth and sky seem to dissolve into something transcendent. The Glass Mountains stand as a testament to nature's artistry, a geological masterpiece hidden within the vast Alaskan wilds. In the depths of Glacier Bay, where towering ice walls meet the dark, frigid waters of the Pacific, an astonishing spectacle occurs. The deep green glow. Unlike the standard blue hues of most icebergs, a rare and mesmerizing phenomenon takes place in these waters. Icebergs that glow a deep, almost emerald green. Scientists believe that the color results from iron-rich sediments trapped within the glacial ice, giving the frozen giants their surreal hue. When struck by sunlight, the ice radiates an eerie green luminescence, as if some strange energy lies hidden within. These glowing icebergs drift silently through the bay, moving like ghostly sentinels in the mist, their surfaces polished smooth by centuries of slow glacial compression. As the sun sets and the sky erupts into streaks of orange and violet, the icebergs take on an even stranger glow, their emerald depths reflecting the dying light in a spectacle that seems almost supernatural. To witness the deep green glow of Glacier Bay is to see nature at its most mysterious, a secret hidden within the ice, a reminder that even the most familiar landscapes can hold wonders beyond imagination. Beneath the raging rivers and icy waters of Alaska's remote wilderness lies a phenomenon so rare, so perplexing, that it remains one of nature's greatest enigmas, the breathing earth of the Kobuk Valley. Here, in the vast expanse of the Arctic tundra, certain patches of land appear to move as though alive. As one steps upon the mossy ground, the earth undulates beneath their feet, swelling and sinking in slow, rhythmic pulses. This strange, almost unsettling movement is the result of trapped methane pockets and permafrost shifts beneath the surface, creating the illusion that the very ground is breathing. The sensation is unlike anything else, a world both solid and liquid, where each footstep sends ripples through the land, and where the tundra itself seems to exhale. The native Inupiat people have long spoken of this place in hushed tones, telling stories of spirits that sleep beneath the soil, waking only when disturbed. Whether legend or science, the breathing earth of Kobuk Valley is a rare glimpse into the hidden mechanics of an ever-changing landscape, where the Arctic reveals its secrets in the most unexpected ways. Beneath the ice of the Matanuska Glacier, hidden far from the sight of even the most seasoned adventurers, lies an impossible sight, the frozen fire of Matanuska. Here, deep within the glacier's core, pockets of highly pressurized methane gas have become trapped over millennia, forming hidden reservoirs beneath the ice. When these pockets are exposed to the open air and ignited, whether by a lightning strike, a natural spark, or human curiosity, the result is nothing short of otherworldly. Blue flames dance upon the surface of the glacier, flickering and writhing in defiance of their frozen surroundings. Fire and ice, two opposing forces, coexist in an improbable balance, a phenomenon so rare that few have ever witnessed it. Those who do describe the sight as something out of legend, a glacier that breathes fire, a frozen titan that awakens only in the rarest of moments. The frozen fire of Matanuska is nature's paradox, a fleeting glimpse of the impossible made real. Far out in the Gulf of Alaska, where the sea churns with relentless fury, lies an island so steeped in legend and mystery that it has remained largely unexplored for centuries. The shifting sands of Middleton Island. Unlike any other island in the region, Middleton does not remain the same from year to year. Its shape, its coastline, and even its very existence are in a state of constant flux, molded by the fierce ocean currents and relentless storms that reshape it with every passing season. Entire sections of the island disappear overnight, swallowed by the sea, while new land emerges from beneath the waves, as if the island itself is alive, breathing in time with the ocean's pulse. Sailors speak of returning to Middleton only to find it utterly transformed, its familiar shores replaced by new dunes, lagoons, and sandbars. Some call it a mirage, an illusion cast by the ever-changing tides, while others believe the island exists in a realm between land and sea, caught in an eternal struggle between creation and destruction. Whatever the truth, Middleton Island remains one of Alaska's most elusive places, an island that refuses to be claimed, a ghost adrift in the Pacific. Hidden within the untouched wilderness of the Tongass National Forest, a forest of glass rises from the earth, the ice forest of Prince of Wales Island. Unlike anything else on Earth, this rare phenomenon occurs when powerful winter storms encase an entire stretch of the forest in layers of pure ice, transforming the trees into frozen sculptures of light and shadow. The effect is mesmerizing. Each branch, each leaf, each towering pine becomes encased in crystal, glowing like diamonds beneath the low Arctic sun. The ice distorts and refracts the light, creating rainbows that dance upon the frozen canopy, while the slightest breeze sends tremors through the trees, causing the ice to sing with an eerie, melodic hum. Walking through the ice forest is like stepping into a dream, a realm where nature has crafted its own cathedral of frozen light, where the ordinary has become the extraordinary. But this beauty is fragile, existing only for a brief window of time before the ice begins to melt and the trees return to their ordinary, unadorned forms. The ice forest is fleeting, a transient masterpiece, proof that Alaska's beauty is as ephemeral as it is eternal. In the vast emptiness of the Arctic, where the land is ruled by ice and silence, the heavens themselves put on a display that defies explanation: the celestial rings of Barter Island. Unlike the familiar northern lights, which streak across the sky in waves of color, the celestial rings appear as enormous, perfect circles of green and violet light, hovering motionless over the frozen landscape. Scientists believe that these luminous rings are the result of unusual electromagnetic interactions between the solar wind and Earth's magnetic field, but the phenomenon remains poorly understood. For those lucky enough to witness it, the effect is otherworldly, massive halos of light suspended in the night, as if some great cosmic doorway has been flung open above the Arctic. The Inupiat people tell stories of the rings as portals, signs from the spirits that the world is more connected than we understand. Whether science or legend, the celestial rings remain one of Alaska's most breathtaking and least documented wonders, a spectacle that few will ever see, but none will ever forget. And then, far west, in the forgotten depths of the Balkans, there's a valley that seems born from folklore, a place where fairies might still dance, and the river runs clear as myth. This is the Rakitnica Canyon in Bosnia and Herzegovina, a land of cliffs and silence carved by water and war, but somehow still untouched in spirit. The Rakitnica River, a tributary of the Neretva, slices through a dramatic chasm more than 20 kilometers long. Towering cliffs loom over a waterway so clear it reflects the sky in full resolution. It's barely accessible, no casual roads lead here. To reach the heart of the canyon, you hike for hours through pine forests and across rugged terrain, descending into a world that feels entirely secret. But when you arrive, it's like discovering the Earth's hidden pulse. Small waterfalls trickle from moss-covered rocks. Wild goats dart along impossible ledges, and the silence is punctuated only by birdsong, by the sound of water curling around stone, by your own breath catching in your throat. The canyon narrows at points, so much so that you can stretch your arms and almost touch both sides. At others, it opens into sun-drenched meadows or turquoise pools that shimmer with untouched clarity. There are no fences here, no signs, just space. Wild, sacred space. Those who come speak of transformation, not in grand metaphors, but in the stillness that rewires your rhythm, in the rawness that strips away everything except presence. Rakitnica Canyon is not meant for the masses. It's a treasure buried in Balkan soil, waiting for the few who still seek the unbelievable and are willing to listen when they find it. Where the Atlantic crashes with untamed force against the northwestern coast of Ireland, there lies a place cloaked in mist and forgotten by time. The Slieve League cliffs rise nearly 2,000 feet above the roaring sea, taller than the famed cliffs of Moher, but without their crowds, their fences, or their fame. Here, Only the wind and your breath keep you company as you stand at the edge of the world. Blanketed in wild grasses and wildflowers, the cliffs undulate toward the horizon, their faces streaked with copper and coal, their bases vanishing into the crashing foam far below. The path along the ridge is narrow and raw, a thread of earth balanced between sky and sea. One misstep, and the abyss awaits. But for those who dare, the view is a baptism in beauty. On clear days, you can see as far as Sligo and the distant Isles of Scotland. On others, the fog swallows the world whole, leaving only the sound of your heartbeat and the cry of gulls wheeling in the gray. This is a land of myth, of selkies and saints, of Celtic gods whispered about in the dark. Local fishermen still bless their boats with age-old rituals, and stone ruins dot the hills like ancient scars. The Slive League Cliffs aren't just Ireland's best-kept secret. They are Ireland at its most primal, where the land meets the spirit in a cathedral of wind and stone. Hidden deep in the mountains of northern Sichuan lies a sanctuary carved by ice and adorned in the colors of myth. Jiuzhaigou Valley is not just a nature reserve, it is a dream unraveled into miles of technicolor lakes, towering waterfalls, and primeval forest cloaked in mist. In this secluded region where Tibetan villages cling to hillsides and the peaks of the Min Mountains pierce the sky, time takes on a different rhythm. The lakes here are not merely bodies of water. They are living mirrors of the world above and the spirit beneath. Long Lake stretches into the horizon, impossibly deep and still, bordered by steep cliffs that guard it like ancient sentinels. Five Flower Lake glows in impossible shades of turquoise, aquamarine, and emerald, its lakebed littered with ancient fallen trees that seem suspended in crystal. The water is so clear it seems not of this earth, as if each pool hides a hidden door to another world. The valley's name means Nine Village Valley, and tucked throughout are small Tibetan hamlets where prayer flags flutter in alpine breezes and yak bells chime faintly in the silence. Waterfalls tumble from cliff faces in elegant ribbons, their spray hanging in the air like glittering dust. And in autumn, the forests explode into fire, crimson maples, golden birch, and the dark green of pine painting the valley with impossible contrast. Walking here among paths of stone and moss, one feels the presence of something ancient and benevolent. Jiuzhaigou doesn't shout its beauty. It hums with it. It doesn't demand to be seen. It waits to be noticed. And when it is, it doesn't leave you unchanged. Hidden away in the remote valleys of the Republic of Georgia, where the Caucasus Mountains loom like vast white sentinels, Omalo emerges from the mist like a secret long kept by the earth. The stone towers of the village, ancient and defiant, stand guard against the winds that sweep through the crags, silent witnesses to centuries of battles, births, and the slow turning of seasons. Omalo feels carved from myth itself, its rough stone paths winding through wildflower meadows and dense pine forests that smell of resin and rain. Herds of sheep move like living clouds across the steep slopes, their bells a chorus that rises and falls with the shifting wind. To reach Omalo, one must brave the vertiginous Abano Pass, a road of raw earth and trembling cliffs, where waterfalls cascade like silver threads down sheer faces and the mountains press close like breathing giants. Each turn of the journey strips away the noise of the world until only the essential remains. The rush of the river, the cry of an eagle, the taste of cold, clean air. Villagers greet you with the deep hospitality of a people who understand the rarity of shared moments in such an unforgiving land. Their smiles worn as comfortably as the woolen cloaks draped over their shoulders. At night, The sky over Omalo erupts in stars so sharp and numerous that it feels as if the mountains themselves are weeping silver. Shadows stretch long across the land as the moon rises, casting the ancient towers in a light that blurs the edges of past and present. Here, every stone underfoot, every gust of wind through the juniper, is steeped in a fierce, rugged beauty that refuses to be tamed. Omalo is not simply seen, it is endured, embraced, and remembered in the marrow of your bones. Hidden among the ridges of Shanxi, draped in the dusty colors of legend, lies a fortress forgotten by time, etched into cliffs that look out over valleys steeped in silence. This is Guoliangjai, China's secret troglodyte village, not carved into rock like mere homes, but sculpted as a stronghold, a living monument to endurance. From afar, it appears as nothing more than the mountain's own bones. But come closer, and you see doorways cut into the cliffside, windows looking out over vertical drops, staircases zigzagging like spiderwebs between vertical walls. The entire village clings to the mountain like ivy grown into the stone. There are no streets here, only ledges. Narrow paths that twist through shadow and sunlight, barely wide enough for a man's shoulders. Chickens roost in crevices, rain barrels perch on ledges, and behind every doorway, the cave breathes with warmth, the smell of tea and firewood and earth. The people who remain here are few, mostly elders, guardians of stories spoken in hushed tones around bowls of millet porridge. They speak of wars long past, of rebels and hermits who vanished into the cliffs, of centuries of solitude preserved through skill, silence, and sheer will. There are no tour buses here, no gift shops or ticket booths, only wind and echoes, and the astonishing resilience of a people who shaped their world with nothing but stone and patience. And when the sun sets behind the cliffs, painting the valley in ochre and amethyst, the whole village vanishes into silhouette, becoming part of the mountain once more, hidden, silent, eternal. Now shift your gaze to the Pacific Northwest, to a place where the earth is still writing itself in ash and steam. Not in the famous volcanic peaks, but in a forgotten corner of Northern California. The Lassen Volcanic Wilderness, a raw, cinematic canvas of bubbling earth, cobalt lakes, and ridgelines stitched in silence. It's a place that feels like it shouldn't exist. So many landscapes packed into one. Alpine forests, smoking fumaroles, crystal-clear lakes, and ancient lava beds all colliding in perfect contrast. There is something primal in the air here, like the ground remembers its own making. Bumpass Hell is its heart, a geothermal basin where the earth breathes visibly. Steam hisses from vents in the ground. Pools boil in colors that should not exist in nature. Teal, sulfur yellow, ghostly white. The wooden boardwalk winds like a question mark through it all, each step accompanied by the distant gurgle of boiling mud. It's a place of contradiction, violently alive, and yet deeply still. Climb higher, and the landscape shifts again. Lassen Peak looms above the world, dusted with snow even in summer. The views stretch to eternity. Forests like spilled ink, mountains like frozen waves, and at Lake Helen, the reflection of sky and mountain ripples in perfect rhythm with the breeze, as if nature itself were breathing in time with you. There are no billboards, no buzz, just wonder, dressed in silence. On the far edge of the Azores archipelago, in the shadow of the Atlantic's endless swell, the island of Flores emerges like a forgotten Eden. Here, cliffs fall away into sapphire depths. Waterfalls spill from sky to sea in impossible plunges, and crater lakes shimmer like the eyes of ancient gods gazing skyward. Flores is green in a way the word cannot contain, lush, feral, eternal. There are no mega resorts here, no sprawling developments, just quiet villages clinging to the hillsides, their red-tiled roofs barely interrupting the waves of wild hydrangeas. Cobbled streets curve like veins through the island, connecting pastures to ports, forests to fields. Cows graze freely. The sea crashes endlessly. Time slows, then forgets to move at all. Drive inland, and the terrain changes with every bend. Dense forests give way to mossy plateaus, and volcanic craters cradle lakes so still they reflect not just the clouds, but your very soul. At Poço da Ribeira do Ferreiro, dozens of waterfalls stream down a jungle-clad cliff in perfect symmetry, feeding a pond so serene it seems carved from a dream. To walk the trails of Flores is to surrender to the earth's wildest beauty. You don't need a guide. You don't need a plan. You just need to follow the sound of water, and it will lead you home. There is a valley in the shadow of snow-capped peaks, where the rivers run glacial blue and the silence stretches into the distance like a secret not meant to be told. This is Yubang, a sacred village hidden in the folds of the Maili snow mountains, tucked so far into the Himalayas of northwestern Yunnan that no road dares to reach it. To enter Yubang is to walk a pilgrimage. One must trek for hours, weaving through mountain paths and suspended prayer flags fluttering with the wind's breath. And then, as the trees part and the peaks rise, you arrive at a village untouched by time. Cows graze between houses made of stone and timber, and local Tibetans tend to their prayer wheels as incense floats on the air. Snow spills from the sky with delicate precision in winter, blanketing everything in a hushed white spell. In summer, alpine meadows burst into color, and waterfalls pour down cliffs like tears from the mountain gods. At the heart of this hidden kingdom is the sacred waterfall of Yubang, its cascading ribbon of meltwater believed to purify sins. Pilgrims circle it in silence, their devotion echoing off the granite walls. But Yubang is not a place of spectacle, it's a place of spirit. Here, every gust of wind, every hoofbeat on the trail, every echo from the valley walls feels intentional. You don't just visit Yubang, you arrive and something in you changes. And long after you've left, you'll find its silence still lingers somewhere deep within you, like a breath you forgot to exhale. Where the Andes descend in wild waves toward the Amazon basin, a secret world of waterfalls and cloud forests unfurls in the hidden paradise of Gocta, Peru. The waterfall itself, a twin-ribboned giant, tumbles from the heavens in an endless roaring plunge, its mist weaving silver veils through the thick green of the jungle. To reach it is no casual stroll. It is a passage through dense ferns and ancient moss-shrouded trees, each step accompanied by the heartbeat of unseen birds and the occasional flash of a brilliant butterfly dancing through shafts of sunlight. Local legend tells of a mermaid who guards these waters, and standing before the roaring immensity of Gocta, it is easy to believe that the land itself is alive with spirit. The falls were hidden from the outside world until astonishingly recently, only officially recorded in 2005, though villagers had long known of their power and mystery. The trail winds along ridges that open suddenly to sweeping vistas of endless green valleys, the world a riot of life and motion, every leaf trembling with the breath of the forest. Approaching the base, the thunder of the falls grows until it vibrates in your bones, and the cool spray kisses your skin, making the air electric and alive. Look up, and the cascade disappears into a vault of sky so high it seems to belong to another world altogether. Monkeys chatter distantly in the canopy, and somewhere deep within the endless forest, jaguars move like shadows, unseen but ever present. Gokta is not a tourist attraction. It is an initiation, a journey into a living cathedral of water and stone, where nature reigns not with gentleness, but with awe-inspiring majesty. Amid the emerald cliffs and primordial stillness of Hunan lies a natural cathedral that defies both scale and expectation. Zhangjiajie's Tianmen Mountain. More than a summit, it is a throne of clouds, crowned by the fabled Heaven's Gate, a colossal arch punched into the mountain's face by time and elemental force. Approaching Tianmen is not a journey, it is a rite. The ascent begins with the world's longest cable car, lifting travelers from the bustle of Zhangjiajie City into the domain of clouds. As the city slips away, replaced by towering karst spires wrapped in mist, you enter another reality, one suspended between sky and stone. The mountain is a maze of wonders. There is the vertiginous glass skywalk, curling along sheer cliffs with nothing but air between your feet and a 1,000-meter drop. You feel each step in your chest. The wind brushes your skin like a ghost. And far below, the world curves away in silence. Then, there are the 999 steps, a staircase that snakes its way from the base to Heaven's Gate, winding like a dragon's spine, demanding a pilgrimage of will and breath. As you climb, the rock seems to rise with you. Mist coils through the trees. Birds drift below. And when you finally reach the arch itself, 94 meters tall and 60 meters wide, you do not look out. You look through into a space that feels like it leads to another realm. Legends say this is where heaven touches the earth, that those who pass beneath the gate are blessed with vision beyond this world. Whether you believe it or not, the air here feels thinner, sharper, touched by something ancient. And when the clouds part, revealing the full sweep of the Wuling Yuan landscape, those pillar-like mountains that inspired Pandora in Avatar, it is not beauty you feel, but reverence. Because here, standing in the doorway between worlds, you do not witness nature. You stand within its soul. And from the green jungle, leap into the flame-stained sky of Ethiopia's Tigray region, where the rock-hewn churches of Abuna Yamata Gu defy gravity and reason. There is no place on earth like it, and no path more humbling. You begin at the base of a cliff that rises more than 2,500 meters into a cobalt sky. From there, it's a vertical ascent. No steps, no railings, just barefoot on the stone. Your fingers gripping ancient handholds, the wind roaring past like a warning. The climb alone feels like a rite of passage, a test of faith even for the faithless. At the summit, carved directly into the sandstone face of the mountain, waits a tiny chapel, unreachable by road, untouched by modernity, and unshaken by time. Its entrance is a narrow ledge with a sheer drop on either side. There is no safety net, only space, air, and conviction. Inside, by flickering candlelight, the walls bloom with frescoes painted more than 1,000 years ago. Faces of saints, wings of angels, and the great eyes of prophets staring out from ochre and indigo, preserved in sacred stillness. The room smells of dust, of wax, of history. Outside, the view is biblical. A panorama of canyons, peaks, and clouds, all spread beneath you like the opening lines of Scripture. This is not a tourist site. It's a secret between man and God. And whether you believe in divinity or not, in that moment, standing where monks once carried scrolls in silence, where barefoot pilgrims still arrive with trembling hands, you feel something vast, something impossible. Now the horizon shifts, and the lush green highlands of central Papua New Guinea unfurl like a living tapestry. Within this maze of river valleys and cloud-wreathed peaks lies Lake Kutubu, emerald, immaculate, untouched. Its surface reflects the sky like a mirror laid upon the earth, ringed by thick forests and villages built from palm and bamboo. The lake appears almost otherworldly, a secret pool of ancient life hidden from all but the most determined traveler. Few roads penetrate this remote region, and fewer still dare venture beyond them. The people of the Kutubu region have lived here for generations, their way of life largely unaltered by the modern world. Canoes glide silently across the water, paddled by villagers whose traditions are steeped in myth and reverence for the land. Their homes sit perched above the lake on wooden stilts, and at night, warm lamplight glows through hand-woven walls like distant stars scattered across a jungle sky. Beneath the surface, the lake holds rare species of fish found nowhere else on Earth, including the sleek and shimmering Kutubu rainbow fish, a living jewel in liquid glass. But it's the air here that lingers in memory long after you've gone. It's thick with scent, ferns, wood smoke, rain, and sound, the hush of trees, the far-off beat of a garamit drum. There's something sacred in the stillness, something ancient in the echo. Lake Kutubu doesn't just exist, it breathes. In the far north of Xinjiang, not far from the Kazakh border, there lies a village that feels stitched into the fabric of an older world. Hemu, a tiny wooden settlement nestled in a broad valley, surrounded by vast alpine meadows and snow-dusted peaks. The homes here are built of raw logs, their roofs steep and gabled to catch the snow that blankets the land each winter in a soft hush. Herds of sheep drift like clouds across the pastures. Smokestacks curl upwards into skies so clear and cold they sparkle with the edge of ice. In autumn, the valley transforms into a blaze of gold and amber, birch trees igniting in firelight against the dark green of pine. And when the snows fall, Hemu becomes a fairy tale. The wooden homes covered in frost, rivers frozen into gleaming ribbons of silver. The only sounds the crunch of boots on snow and the distant call of an eagle. To reach Hemu is to surrender to distance, to time. The roads are long and winding. Civilization fades with every mile. But what waits at the end of that journey is the kind of silence that heals you. A stillness interrupted only by the wind whispering through the trees and the creak of timber beneath your feet. The Tuva people, descendants of ancient nomadic tribes, live here, keeping old ways alive with quiet dignity. They don't perform, they exist. And in their rhythm, in their connection to the land, there is something profoundly rare, a life not yet swallowed by noise. Hemu is not a place you visit, it's a place you vanish into. Deep within the folds of Malaysia's Titiwangsa Mountains, where mist snakes through emerald canopies and rivers carve secret paths through dense jungle, lies the Cameron Highlands, an otherworldly tapestry of rolling tea plantations and ancient mossy forests. Here, the hills ripple in perfect symmetry, cloaked in seas of green that shimmer under the shifting moods of the sky. Narrow paths wind through endless rows of tea bushes, the scent of fresh leaves sweetening the air, while workers with nimble hands pluck the finest tips under a gauze of morning mist. Venture further, and the cultivated beauty gives way to untamed magic. The mossy forest looms like something conjured from an ancient legend, a primeval world where gnarled trees twist in silent agony, their limbs heavy with dripping moss and orchids that bloom like secret stars. The ground, soft and springy underfoot, exhales the sweet, damp breath of the earth, and every step feels like a journey deeper into an older, wilder version of the world. Wisps of cloud thread between the trees, blurring the lines between land and sky, between waking and dreaming. Tiny streams trickle over stones worn smooth by centuries of hidden flow, and the silence here hums with unseen life, an orchestra of insects, the distant call of unseen birds, the soft plash of unseen frogs in hidden pools. As twilight folds over the highlands, the hills blush under the soft hand of the setting sun, and the world seems to hold its breath. In the Cameron Highlands, nature writes its poetry in shades of green and gold, and every leaf, every stone, every shifting shadow invites you to linger just a little longer, suspended in a quiet miracle that feels untouched by time. Carved into the blue heart of the South China Sea, where waves shimmer like polished jade and limestone islands rise like the backs of sleeping dragons, lies a reef as rare as it is radiant, the Xuande archipelago of the Paracel Islands. Few have walked its shores, fewer still have plunged beneath its surface, but those who do describe it as swimming through a dream stitched together by coral and sunlight. The waters here are impossibly clear, so transparent that the seafloor appears to float just beneath your fingertips. Coral reefs fan outward like lace, teeming with life in every shape and color. Electric blues pulse through schools of tangs. Gliding rays ripple across sandy bottoms like shadows in motion. And among the coral bloom iridescent clams and the cautious flickers of clownfish. Above the water, the islands themselves are wild and nearly untouched, scrubby with mangroves, ringed by glimmering beaches, home to seabirds that wheel and call in the blinding sun. Ancient shipwrecks sleep beneath the waves, their skeletons half consumed by coral, their secrets cradled in the silence of the deep. This archipelago is protected, disputed, remote. Its isolation has kept it pristine, a pocket of oceanic magic frozen in its own mythos. There are whispers of lost pirate treasure here, and sightings of bioluminescent algae that turn the waves into starlight each night. But it is the reef that entrances. There's no sound but the tickle of your own breath in the water. No edge to the color, no ending to the patterns. Here, nature paints not in broad strokes, but in intimate detail. In the flicker of a sea cucumber, in the blink of a watchful octopus, in the soft sway of underwater anemones that seem to dance just for you. It is a place you cannot photograph, only experience. And even then, it will feel like a memory borrowed from another world. Now lift off to a different rhythm, to the rolling waves of Ireland's west coast, but not to the cliffs you know, not to Moher or Dingle. Instead, find Inishmore, the largest of the Aran Islands, where windswept stone meets sacred stillness. Inishmore is a place of walls, dry stone walls that stretch across the island like lines of poetry carved into the land, dividing nothing, enclosing only air and memory. There are no trees, only stone and grass and sky. The Atlantic crashes against sheer cliffs with such force it makes the earth tremble. And yet, above it all, silence reigns. You arrive by ferry. The sea is often rough, and it's said that Inishmore tests who is meant to see it. But when the island reveals itself, low, green, weathered, it calls you in completely. Bicycles are the main form of travel. You ride along coastal lanes, past grazing donkeys and whitewashed cottages. The wind smells like salt and something older. Turf smoke, maybe, or time itself. You climb to Dun Aungasa, a prehistoric stone fort perched on the edge of a 100-meter cliff. There are no railings, no warnings, only sky above and the infinite drop below. You lie on your belly and look over the edge, and the ocean stares back, endless, dark, alive. The spray rises in plumes that soak your face, and in that moment, you understand why ancient peoples chose this place to build their last stand. It is raw, exposed, indomitable. In the evening, the island quiets to a murmur. The pubs glow warm, filled with fiddle music and the low clink of glasses. Locals speak in Irish, not for show, but because it's still alive here. A living tongue, a living land. And when you walk back under a sky so full of stars, it feels heavy. The wind tugs at your coat like it's trying to tell you one more story. Tucked away in the verdant folds of Japan's Kii Peninsula lies a place where legend still lingers in the moss and fog. Nachi no Taki, a waterfall so gracefully veiled by forest, it feels conjured. Most travelers flock to Kyoto or Tokyo, but those who wander further find a path once walked by emperors and monks, the Kumano Kodo pilgrimage route. Through cedar forests older than memory, across time-worn stone steps slick with dew, the path finally reveals a vision so perfect it feels painted. A 133-meter ribbon of water, cascading from the heavens beside the blood-red, 3-storied Sagantoji Pagoda. The air hums with spiritual charge. The scent of wet wood and incense fills your lungs. The roar of the waterfall is steady but soft, more lullaby than thunder. This is not nature in chaos. It is nature in prayer. For over 1,000 years, pilgrims have bathed in these waters and bowed at this spot, believing the cascade to be the earthly embodiment of purity. Even now, the temple bell echoes across the valley, and paper wishes tied to trees flutter like silent songs. You don't just visit Nachi no Taki, you bow to it. You linger in its presence as you would in a shrine, and when you leave, you carry something more than memory. You carry stillness. In a lonely valley carved into the hills of western Fujian, where the land folds like pages in an ancient scroll, lie the Tulu, vast earthen structures that rise from the earth like fortresses dreamed into life. These are not castles, nor temples, nor towns, but living homes, circular and walled, designed to house entire clans under a single roof. Constructed by the Hakka people hundreds of years ago, the Tulu were born out of a need for protection and unity. Some of these structures rise 5 stories tall, their outer walls thick as a castle's, made of packed earth, sand, and rice straw. Materials simple yet almost immortal. Inside, life moves with a rhythm shaped by centuries. Each level has its role: ground floors for cooking, middle floors for storage, and the top for rest and sleep. A central courtyard becomes the heart of the building, where children play, elders gather, festivals bloom, and drums echo during celebrations. There is no privacy in the Western sense, but there is something deeper, a collective heartbeat, a shared breath. Walking into a Tulu feels like stepping into a living, breathing relic, something as functional as it is poetic. Mist often wraps around the hillsides in the early morning, rising over rice paddies and creeping through the alleyways between these grand circles. From above, they resemble ancient coins scattered across a tapestry of green. Many are still inhabited today, and the quiet resilience of those who live within tells a story as layered and powerful as the structures themselves. The Tulu do not gleam or soar. They endure. They are the poetry of people who have lived in harmony for centuries, patient, protective, and enduring as the mountains that surround them. Tucked away in a hidden corner of the Carpathian Mountains, the Apuseni Natural Park in Romania unspools a world that feels untouched by time. Here, ancient beech and fir forests stretch endlessly, the sunlight filtering through the canopy in shattered golden rays that turn the air to honey. Gentle limestone hills give way to secret valleys and cavernous gorges, where underground rivers whisper their ancient songs beneath the earth. The park is laced with an intricate network of caves, some of the oldest in Europe, mystical worlds of crystal stalactites, frozen waterfalls, and chambers vast enough to swallow the sound of your own breath. Among these is Skarishwara Ice Cave, a colossal underground glacier where blue ice shimmers with ghostly light. Untouched for millennia, a frozen heart beating beneath the mountains. Above ground, the meadows burst into a riot of color every summer, carpets of wildflowers waving like a living sea beneath the ever-changing sky. Villages dot the landscape with houses that seem to grow out of the earth itself, their wooden shingles weathered gray by countless winters, smoke curling lazily from stone chimneys. Shepherds guide their flocks across the hills, the soft bells of the sheep a music older than memory, a gentle pulse that seems to blend seamlessly with the whisper of the wind. The people here live with the land, not against it, their lives braided into the seasons with a grace few modern places still know. At night, the stars flood the sky with a brilliance so pure it feels almost too fragile to gaze upon, the Milky Way stretching from horizon to horizon like a bridge to forgotten realms. In Apuseni, the world slows, exhales, and offers itself back to you, whole and wild and unbroken. In the humid cradle of Guizhou province, shrouded by whispering bamboo and hills that undulate like the backs of sleeping dragons, lies a village born not of wood or stone, but of a waterfall. Genuine ancient town is hidden deep in a valley, cradled between green ridges, where the Wuyang River glides like a ribbon of jade beneath arched bridges and timeless pagodas. Time does not simply pass here, it breathes. As you wander the narrow cobblestone lanes, you'll hear the soft chant of an unseen monk carried on the wind, mingling with the rustle of wind chimes and the splash of fish leaping from jade-green waters. Genuine story is carved into the rock that flanks it, in the cliffside caves of Qinglongdong. Here, shrines and temples emerge from the stone as though grown by the earth itself. Taoist, Buddhist, and Confucian sanctuaries harmoniously coexisting in surreal symmetry. The temples are alive with color and incense. Golden dragons curl around crimson beams, their eyes fixed eternally on the mountains beyond. At dusk, lanterns bloom like fireflies across the water's edge, casting shimmering red and gold into the river that reflects a dreamscape no camera could ever fully capture. Boats glide silently past, their silhouettes framed by bridges that arch like the spines of mythical beasts. But the true magic of Zhenyuan is not in its architecture or its traditions. It is in its spirit. This is a place where locals leave offerings for river spirits and pause to bow at shrines nestled between tea shops. Where the line between folklore and fact is so blurred, even the skeptical might begin to wonder whether the mist rising from the Wuyang is merely vapor or something more ancient, more watching. Here, the air itself feels alive, thick with stories untold. It doesn't ask you to believe, only to listen. And if you do, if you truly stop and listen, you might just hear the village whisper its secrets back. In the wind-swept grasslands of Patagonia, tucked beneath the soaring peaks of the Andes, There lies a lake so still, so clear, it seems to hold the sky itself in its hands. But this is not the famous glacial scenes often sought by tourists. This is Laguna Capri, a lesser-known wonder near El Chaltén, Argentina, a place where solitude and silence reign like royalty. Reaching it is a hike through forest and rock, the trail winding like a thread between lenga trees and alpine flowers. The air is thin but sweet, filled with the breath of mountain herbs and the occasional cry of a condor tracing invisible currents far overhead. And then, like the opening of a curtain, the lake appears, a mirror of silver and glass tucked within a natural amphitheater. Here, Mount Fitzroy rises in the distance like a jagged crown, its snow-capped spires catching fire in the first rays of sunrise. The reflection is flawless, a perfect twin, and in that stillness, you feel it. Time pausing, the world holding its breath. You sit by the shore, you take off your boots, the icy water kisses your toes, grounding you in the moment. No shops, no crowds, just rock, sky, water, and the hush of eternity. Laguna Capri is not grand in size, but in spirit, it is colossal. In the heart of Washington State's Cascade Mountains, concealed behind jagged ridgelines and demanding trails, lies a realm carved from ice, wind, and myth, the Enchantments. This alpine sanctuary is not stumbled upon. It must be earned. The hike that leads to it is grueling, a gauntlet of switchbacks and stone, testing the resolve of every adventurer. But for those who push through, the reward is nothing short of transcendent. At the crest of Asgard Pass, breathless and dizzy with altitude, the world opens in spectacular silence. Jagged granite peaks tear at the sky like frozen fire, and a necklace of turquoise lakes glitters across the valley below. They are so pristine they seem unreal, each one fringed with snowfields even in summer, their waters holding the blue of forgotten dreams. Larches, golden and defiant, stand like sentinels across meadows brushed with wildflowers. The light here is different, sharper, cleaner, as though the sky has peeled back a layer to show you something older than time. At night, the wind slips over the ridges like a sigh, and stars multiply into thousands, mirrored perfectly in the still lakes. Mountain goats descend the slopes without a sound, and in those quiet hours, you realize this place is not just beautiful, it's sacred. The Enchantments do not offer comfort. They offer revelation, and in their silence, you'll hear something forgotten in the modern world: awe. Cradled by the ancient embrace of terraced rice fields and dense forests lies a village unlike any other. Nestled quietly in Guangxi's mountainous folds, the town of Chungyang sits like a whisper from a bygone era. Here, the Dong ethnic minority have built a bridge that doesn't simply cross a river, but crosses into legend. The Chungyang Wind and Rain Bridge. Constructed without a single nail, this architectural marvel stretches like a wooden ribbon across the Lingxi River, its ornate eaves curling like the wings of resting cranes. Under its canopy, the soft patter of footsteps is echoed by the murmur of water and the soft creak of ancient timber. Around the bridge, wooden drum towers rise into the sky, each telling the story of a people who live in rhythm with the land. Rice paddies spill down the hillsides in gleaming steps, their reflections catching fire at sunset. Smoke curls lazily from kitchen hearths, and in the narrow stone streets, elders sing polyphonic songs in voices both delicate and profound, the sound of history being remembered. The Dong people live not apart from the world, but within it, in perfect calibration with the rivers, the soil, and the passing of seasons. To walk through Chungyang is to pass through layers of time. There's a softness to life here, an unhurried grace that teaches you to listen. To the water, to the wind in the trees, and to the wisdom of a culture that's never lost its way home. There is a stretch of land in the northeastern corner of China where winter feels like a spell cast across the earth, a glimmering world of ice and silence, cradled in the remote wilderness of Heilongjiang. This is Jingpo Lake, a volcanic miracle wrapped in forest and legends, where the past sleeps beneath frozen waters and steam rises from the breath of the earth. In summer, the lake glistens like obsidian, calm and impossibly vast, its surface scattered with emerald islands and shaded by pine-covered ridges. But it is in winter that Jingpo transforms into something truly otherworldly. Ice creeps across its expanse until the water stills completely. Thick, translucent ice that glows in shades of sapphire and glass. Snow hangs heavy on the branches, muffling every sound. The crown jewel here is Diaoshuilu Waterfall, a roaring cascade in the warmer months that turns, astonishingly, into a wall of jagged ice. A frozen curtain, mid-movement, sparkling under the pale northern sun. Beneath the surface of the lake lies a dormant volcanic crater, the very force that birthed the landscape thousands of years ago. Steam vents still whisper from beneath the ground, hinting at the ancient fire that once tore this land open. There are stories, of course, whispered by the locals, of dragons beneath the lake, of spirits in the forests, of ancient rulers who sought immortality on its shores. But even without the legends, Jingpo Lake carries a mystique that's hard to explain. It doesn't announce itself with grandeur. It reveals itself slowly, in the creak of ice, in the flicker of northern lights across the night sky, in the crunch of snow beneath your feet. Here, far from the noise of the world, you remember what it is to be still, and in that stillness, you rediscover wonder. On the far southern coast of Crete, hidden between towering cliffs and forgotten by most who only skim the island's tourist-worn edges, the village of Lutro sits like a lost sapphire cradled by the Libyan Sea. There are no roads that reach this place, only the open sea or rugged footpaths carved into the mountains. From the water, it appears like a vision, whitewashed buildings clinging to the rocks, their blue shutters flickering against the blinding sunlight, a place untouched by the corrosion of time. Boats bob lazily in the crystalline harbor, so clear that it seems they are floating in mid-air, suspended above rippling shadows on the sandy seabed. The scent of grilled octopus and wild thyme drifts on the breeze, carried from tavernas where locals speak in soft, lilting tones, their conversations stitched with the rhythm of the waves. Narrow alleyways wander upward into olive groves and rocky trails leading to hidden beaches, secret coves where the sea cradles you in a cool, endless embrace. Beneath the shimmering surface, fish flicker in shoals of silver and coral gardens sway with the tide. At dusk, the village seems to sigh and lean into the coming night. The sky deepens into velvet, and the stars gather so thickly above that the universe feels just an arm's reach away. There is a silence here, not of absence but of fullness. The sound of the earth breathing, the ancient pulse of water against stone. Lutro is not a destination you check off a list. It is a feeling you carry back with you, a place that hums like a secret in your heart, long after your footprints have vanished from its pebbled shore. Deep within the limestone belly of Guangxi, where the land is carved into surreal waves of karst and the rivers snake like calligraphy through jade valleys, a cave pulses with light and sound. Reed Flute Cave, a cathedral beneath the earth. From the outside, It appears unassuming, a rocky slope tucked beside Lee River's gentle bends. But step inside, and the world melts into a fantasy of stone. Stalactites and stalagmites rise like frozen storms, catching the light in crystalline fire. Colored illumination, soft blues, royal purples, celestial greens, sweeps across the formations, casting shadows that dance like spirits across mirrored pools. Every chamber is a universe. In one, a spire arches upward like a lightning bolt caught mid-strike. In another, a silent lake reflects the ceiling with such precision it dissolves the boundary between water and air. The formations have names whispered by generations: Dragon Pagoda, Crystal Palace, Sky Pillar. And though they are shaped by millennia of slow, dripping water, they possess a grandeur more immediate than any palace wrought by man. The silence here is not emptiness. It is depth. Your footsteps echo in quiet reverence, as if the cave itself is listening. You run your fingers along stone that predates history, and somewhere deep in the shadows, a drop falls from above, soft as a breath, steady as time. Legends say ancient poets once stood where you now stand, composing verses by torchlight, humbled by the majesty of nature's secret art. Some say the cave is the lungs of a sleeping dragon, others that it is a gateway between worlds. Either could be true. Standing there, heart slowed to the rhythm of drip and echo, you believe both. Outside, the world turns. But down here, beneath layers of mountain and myth, you are timeless. In the depths of the Central Asian steppe, far from highways and cities, lies a shimmering illusion born of wind and silence. Lake Khindy in Kazakhstan. But this is not a lake in the traditional sense. This is something stranger, a sunken forest, a phantom wood that rises from turquoise water, bare trunks piercing the surface like spears frozen mid-battle. Formed by a limestone landslide after an earthquake in 1911, Lake Khindy is a secret the earth kept quiet for over a century. The forest that once stood tall now lives underwater, its ghostly spruce trees preserved by the lake's icy chill. Their branches still visible beneath the surface when the light hits just right. Above, only the trunks remain. Pale, skeletal forms standing in perfect rows like mourners in prayer. The hike to the lake is its own rite of passage. You cross rolling meadows, where wild horses graze under the watch of distant peaks, and ascend through alpine forests humming with birdsong. Then, without warning, the land opens and the lake appears, blue as sapphire and still as glass, holding the memory of trees and time. The water is impossibly clear. Divers who descend into its depths find themselves drifting among the submerged forest, gliding past trees whose roots still clutch the drowned soil. It is a dive through dimensions. Land, air, water, and time all colliding in a quiet, sacred ballet. Above water, the wind moves through the valley, rustling leaves that no longer exist, and you stand at the edge of the lake, heart slowed, breath hushed, knowing you've found something that looks like a place but feels like a spell. On the windswept plains of Mongolia, where the sky stretches in every direction and the land rolls like waves frozen in stone, there lies a cavern few have ever seen. Ikhnartin Chulu, more commonly called Ikhnart, is a granite outcrop in the middle of the Gobi Steppe. It is a place where the horizon bleeds into sky and silence becomes a tangible force. But hidden within its folds are labyrinthine rock formations and canyons so narrow and deep they vanish into shadow even under the midday sun. Here, wild Argali sheep leap across boulders like ancient spirits, and bearded vultures spiral overhead in solemn circles, The air smells of lichen and dust, and the rocks themselves seem to hum with age. Petroglyphs, etched by Bronze Age hands, dot the granite walls, their meanings lost, but their presence undeniable. At dusk, golden light catches on the stone, setting it ablaze in hues of fire and copper, while the wind carries the scent of distant rain. There are no roads here, no signs, just the guidance of nomadic herders, their yurts barely visible in the vastness. They speak of hidden springs and sacred stones, of places where the earth listens. Iknart is one of them. To walk here is to step back into the raw breath of the world, where history and myth blend into something deeper than either. It is solitude redefined, vastness embodied. Within the folds of northern Guangdong, obscured by thick mists and crowned with thousand-year-old forest, lies the enigmatic world of Mount Danxia. This land of red sandstone cliffs and curious rock formations is no ordinary mountain range. It is a kingdom of color and form, sculpted over eons into shapes that defy explanation and invite awe. Here, nature seems to play with geometry. Pillars rise like ancient temples. Ridges ripple like waves frozen mid-motion. Massive monoliths wear contours that resemble the silhouettes of creatures, gods, or fables only half remembered. The most famous, the Yang Yuan stone, towers into the air like a sculpture of mythic proportions. So surreal it looks as if it were designed, not formed. But the magic of Mount Danxia lies beyond its shapes. It's in the way the early morning light bleeds across the cliffs, turning crimson rock into burning gold. It's in the green rivers that wind silently through canyon walls, mirroring the sky in stillness. And it's in the ancient trails that lead to temples hidden among the peaks, where monks chant in candlelight and time seems to dilate into something more sacred. The forests here are thick with banyan and cypress, whispering in the wind like old souls. When it rains, mist clings to the spires, shrouding the entire landscape in a cinematic fog that blurs the lines between earth and sky. It feels like walking through a painting not meant for this world, and yet it's real. Mount Danxia is not just a geological wonder. It is a landscape alive with stories etched in stone and echoed in every footstep you take. In the windswept highlands of Ethiopia, where the land fractures into cliffs and yawning valleys, the village of Lalibela guards one of humanity's greatest, yet least known marvels. Here, 11 medieval churches are carved entirely from living rock, their rose-colored forms hidden below ground like treasures tucked into the earth's embrace. Approaching them, there is no grand facade, only simple openings in the sun-baked plateau that plunge downward into mystery. Descend, and the world above falls away. Narrow tunnels and weathered steps lead to courtyards where the monolithic churches rise, hewn from single stones by hands driven by unfathomable devotion. Bet Georgis, shaped like a perfect cross, stands isolated in a trench, its walls adorned only by the kisses of rain and centuries. The sandstone walls are cool to the touch, whispering of ancient prayers and the slow breath of stone through time. Robed priests drift between shadow and light, their chants resonating in chambers carved with such precision that sound seems to bend and linger, wrapping visitors in layers of reverence. Outside, the air buzzes with the murmurs of distant markets and the cry of goats scaling impossible inclines. The starkness of the surrounding landscape only sharpens the impossible reality of Lalibela, a sacred heartbeat carved into the very bones of the earth, echoing across centuries in soft, endless waves. Here, faith is not merely practiced, it is etched into existence, a permanent testament to humanity's yearning to touch the divine. tucked between the folds of Yunnan's highland tapestry, where clouds weave through terraces of jade and the wind carries the distant trill of flutes, lies a village where color sings and time hesitates, Dongchuan Redland. This is not a hidden city or an ancient ruin, but a living canvas, nature's most defiant burst of pigment splashed across the earth. At first glance, it almost seems unreal. The soil glows with a burnished crimson hue, the result of iron-rich minerals oxidized by centuries of sun and rain. Winding through the slopes are terraces of green barley, golden buckwheat, and cotton-white potatoes, arranged in fluid waves that rise and fall like brushstrokes. The hills appear to burn with color, reds, greens, golds, purples, each hue shifting with the hour. In the early morning, a whisper of mist curls through the valley, softening the hills into watercolor. At midday, the sun sharpens every ridge and furrow, igniting the reds into flame. And as dusk deepens, the earth blushes in twilight, glowing from within as though lit by memory. Villagers here tend their fields as if composing music. Oxen pull simple plows through scarlet soil. Children chase kites across stepped hillsides. And the elderly sit beneath thatched awnings, sipping tea and watching the sky as if they expect it to tell them something. There's no fanfare, no great monuments, just the raw beauty of land in conversation with light. The landscape shifts so dramatically with season and sun that it never offers the same view twice. It demands that you stop, breathe, and really see. In this kaleidoscope of dirt and harvest, where farmers wake with the mist and sleep beneath galaxies undimmed by city light, you discover something essential. Wonder doesn't need grandeur. Sometimes it's simply a hillside that burns with color, asking nothing more than to be seen. Now shift to a place of water and verdant myth, a corner of the world cradled by moss and mist. In the highlands of Réunion Island, tucked in the Indian Ocean east of Madagascar, lies the Cirque de Mafate, an extinct volcanic caldera so steep, so remote, that no roads touch it. It exists beyond asphalt, beyond urgency. You arrive by foot or helicopter, the only ways in, and as you descend into the bowl-shaped expanse, the world above seems to dissolve behind you. What awaits below is a village of dreams, wooden houses scattered like whispers across grassy clearings, tiny farms with crops climbing in neat rows along the hills, dense forest creeping up ridgelines, waterfalls carving silver threads into the valley's walls. The air smells like damp soil and eucalyptus, the kind of scent that makes you breathe deeper without realizing. Each trail that winds through Mafate feels like it has a soul, trodden for generations, etched into the landscape with footsteps and memory. You pass under fern-covered groves and over rope bridges that sway gently above rushing creeks. Time here has a different texture. Days stretch not in laziness, but in fullness. You wake with the birds. You sleep under stars that pierce the sky like diamonds cracked into velvet. The people of Mafate live in harmony with their surroundings. They bake bread in wood-fired ovens, harvest rainwater, and tell stories over candlelight. It's not a place pretending to be simple. It is simple. And that simplicity is magic. You don't visit Cirque de Mafate. You enter it and leave changed. On the northeast coast of Madagascar, where the rainforest kisses the reef and lemurs leap from tree to tree like echoes of a forgotten age, lies Massowala National Park. It is the island's largest protected area, and yet almost no one outside this hemisphere has ever heard of it. It is raw, wild, glorious. The trees here stretch skyward in a fever of green, their trunks wrapped in vines as thick as ropes. Rain falls in sudden bursts, then vanishes. The forest floor steams, and the call of exotic birds twines with the growl of hidden chameleons and the chatter of unseen primates. Red-ruffed lemurs perch high in the canopy, watching with curious golden eyes. Step beyond the trees, and you find a coast untouched. Coral reefs ripple just offshore in clear waters, home to sea turtles, clownfish, and the occasional passing whale. The beach is not manicured. It's wild, golden, and empty, except for driftwood and the occasional crab retreating into the surf. To explore Masoala is to immerse yourself in a place where Earth still behaves as it did long before humanity carved borders and roads into its skin. You come here not to conquer, but to yield, not to see, but to witness. High on the Tibetan Plateau, where the land stretches endlessly beneath a sky too vast to belong to Earth, the Kekexili Nature Reserve unfolds like a planet unto itself. It is raw, desolate, and breathtaking beyond comprehension, a sanctuary of solitude where wildness is not an idea, but a constant, living presence. This is one of the most remote and unspoiled places on Earth. A sea of golden grasslands, snowfields, and sapphire lakes undisturbed by civilization. Antelope and wild donkeys roam freely across the plains, moving as if choreographed by the wind. The silence here is immense, the kind that presses against your chest until your heartbeat sounds like thunder. In spring, the reserve explodes in life. Wildflowers paint the ground in shades of violet and amber, and flocks of migratory birds fill the skies in shifting formations. But even in its most welcoming moments, Kekexili retains its aloof majesty. The winds are sharp, the sun burns high, and nights fall with an unforgiving chill. Few dare to venture far into its core, but those who do are rewarded with visions that feel extraterrestrial. Glacial rivers cutting through desert, herds vanishing into the horizon, skies so clear they reflect infinity. There are no cities, no towns, not even proper roads, just the vastness, and you, Kekexili, doesn't need to raise its voice to impress. Its scale, its purity, and its defiance of human limits speak louder than anything built with stone or steel. It is a monument not to what mankind has made, but to what it can never fully grasp. Tucked into the farthest eastern fingers of Iceland, where few travelers venture and the land itself seems to breathe with a quiet, ancient pulse, lies Borgarfjörður Eystri, a village so small that it seems almost imagined, painted in splashes of color against a vast canvas of green valleys and jagged mountains. The road that leads here twists and sighs through dreamlike landscapes, each turn revealing fjords brushed by low clouds and hills stitched with the violet embroidery of wild lupines. It feels like crossing into another realm, a forgotten world where the rules of time have slipped away. Borgarfjörður Eystri is not grand in scale, but grand in spirit. The cliffs near Hafnarholmi teem with puffins, their comical, bright-beaked faces peeking from burrows and flying in wild, joyful swoops over the restless sea. The mountains that rise around the village, Dyrfjöll and beyond, wear cloaks of mist and legend, said to shelter the hidden people, the Huldufolk, who move unseen among the stones. Hiking trails unfurl like secret paths into untouched valleys, where waterfalls whisper among moss-covered rocks, and silence wraps around you like a warm, living thing. The evening light here stretches into near eternity during summer, a soft luminescence that bathes everything in a surreal, golden tranquility. And in winter, the auroras waltz and weave across the ink-black sky, shimmering in hues of emerald and violet, as if the heavens themselves are dancing in secret celebration. Borgarfjörður Eystri is not just a place to visit. It is a place to disappear, to dissolve into wonder, to remember how vast and tender the world can be when it has been left wild and free. Mist clings to the jagged cliffs like a whispered secret, and the air trembles with the hush of ancient water carving its legacy through stone. This is the Yarlung Tsangpo Grand Canyon, a place so vast, so inaccessible, it seems etched into the very bones of a forgotten earth. Winding through southeastern Tibet, this is not just the deepest canyon on the planet. It is one of the least seen, veiled by the wildest frontiers of geography and myth alike. Above, Namcha Barwa pierces the heavens, a dagger of ice slicing into clouds that drift like spirits over the chasm. Below, the river rages. The Yarlung Tsangpo River is no gentle stream, but a thunderous cascade of turquoise fury, winding through mountain walls draped in velvet moss and silver waterfalls. The scale is colossal, deeper than the Grand Canyon, cloaked in near impenetrable jungle and wreathed in perpetual mist. Each twist of the river reveals landscapes so remote they seem alien. Forests burst from sheer rock faces, their leaves glistening with the breath of cloud. Parrots and snow leopards inhabit the same mysterious ecosystem, as if some divine hand accidentally blended tropic and tundra. Monks who have lived in silence for years speak of the canyon as a living being, a sentient force that guards the entry to sacred lands few outsiders will ever behold. There is a silence here that humbles, not the absence of sound, but a presence, an ancient, humming resonance that seems to rise from the stone itself. Footsteps echo differently, carrying into the thick air like offerings. You do not visit the Yarlung Tsangpo. You arrive, and it decides whether you are allowed to stay. Deep within this gorge, there are places where no satellite has mapped, where no drone has flown. Villages built into cliff faces like secrets, where time moves not in hours, but in seasons. You may hear laughter echoing across the ravine, but you'll see no one. You may follow a path only to find it ends not with a road, but with a staircase chiseled into rock, vanishing into fog. And in that moment, standing on the edge of the abyss, breathing the same thin air that brushes the peaks of forgotten gods, you begin to understand. Some wonders were never meant to be touched, only witnessed and remembered in awe. Now drift far east to the jungles of Thailand, where a river coils like a serpent through an emerald chasm, and where the Erawan waterfalls descend like a staircase carved for gods. Deep within Erawan National Park in Kanchanaburi Province, this seven-tiered cascade tumbles through the forest with an elegance so surreal it seems imagined. The lower pools shimmer a translucent jade, their surfaces broken only by the dart of fish and the gentle rainfall of falling leaves. The water is cool and sweet, flowing over smooth limestone like silk, forming natural terraces that beg to be stepped into. With every level you ascend, the world becomes quieter, greener, more sacred. Butterflies dance through shafts of sunlight like living brushstrokes. Macaques peer at you from the treetops, curious but indifferent. And the sound, that constant lullaby of falling water, becomes your companion, guiding you deeper into the dream. Some tiers are wide, curtain-like. Others narrow and tucked away, hidden beneath vines and rock overhangs. You climb barefoot, slowly, carefully, letting the earth speak through your soles. And at the seventh tier, after hours of ascent, you reach the crown, a broad, glittering pool beneath a towering veil of water. Here, even your breath quiets. Even your thoughts yield. It's not just a waterfall, it's a pilgrimage. Deep in the wilderness of the Philippines' northern Cordilleras lies a marvel few outside the country ever witness. Buscalan, a village carved into the mountain's spine, shrouded in clouds and only reachable by foot. It is home to a legacy written not in ink, but skin. The last of the traditional Kalinga tattoo artists, Wangod, lives here. An elderly woman whose hands still tap out sacred patterns using a thorn, a bamboo stick, and centuries of ancestral memory. To reach Buscalan, one must hike narrow paths clinging to cliff sides, cross bamboo bridges over roaring gorges, and pass rice terraces that cascade like green stairways into the sky. But the journey is part of the spell. Along the way, the landscape breathes with life. Carabaos cooling in the rivers, mountain breezes laced with pine and citrus, the rhythmic chopping of wood echoing through the canyons. In Buscalan, tradition is not preserved, it thrives. Children run barefoot through fog-laced alleys, elders chew betel nut and recount legends of headhunters and mountain spirits. And tattooing is not a novelty. It is a rite of passage, a map of a soul worn proudly. Wangod herself, over 100 years old, is a living monument to a culture that refuses to vanish. Watching her work is like witnessing time flow backward. This is not just a remote village. It is a temple of heritage, a highland story etched into every stone, every smile, and every scar. There is a place in the southern reaches of China that seems less shaped by time and more dreamt into being. A remote paradise veiled by emerald hills and carved deep into the spine of the earth. Libo-Zhangjiang, nestled in the subtropical embrace of Guizhou province, is a world where rivers don't just flow. They meander with the grace of dancers, folding gently between dense karst hills that rise like sleeping giants cloaked in green. This is no tourist magnet, no over-traveled path. It is a sanctuary of serenity where ancient banyan trees clutch at cliffs and crystal-clear waters glint with the reflections of 1,000 shades of jade. Bamboo groves shiver in the breeze like whispered secrets, and thick mists roll across the treetops in the early morning, turning the landscape into a watercolor come to life. The caves here are vast and untamed, yawning caverns lined with calcite formations that glisten like stars trapped underground. The rivers, impossibly clear, twist through stone corridors and vanish into the earth before re-emerging with a shimmer and a song. Libo-Zhangjiang is more than a park. It is a pocket of untouched wonder, a living poem of limestone and light, where each footstep carries you deeper into a timeless, liquid realm. And if you stand still long enough, surrounded by the soft hush of the jungle and the laughter of water over stone, you'll swear the land is breathing. Beyond the borders of Namibia's deserts, and beneath a sky so wide it threatens to swallow the horizon, the haunting beauty of the Quiver Tree Forest emerges like a dream. Scattered across rocky plains near Keetmanshoop, the quiver trees stand not in ordered ranks, but in strange, poetic gatherings, each one twisting and reaching toward the heavens in frozen dance. Their bark peels away in golden plates that shimmer under the relentless sun, and their branches, thick and gnarled, bloom with clusters of pale yellow flowers when the seasons permit. Named by the indigenous San people, who used the hollowed branches to craft quivers for their arrows. These trees are ancient sentinels, some standing silently for over 200 years. Walking among them feels like wandering through a forest sculpted not by time, but by dream and memory. As dusk descends, the landscape transforms, The sun pours molten gold across the earth, igniting the trees in a brief, fierce blaze of color before slipping away into the ink of night. Then, the real magic reveals itself. Under the velvet darkness of the Namibian sky, the Milky Way stretches in impossible clarity, a river of stars so dense and brilliant it seems to pull at your very soul. The quiver trees stand silhouetted against this galactic tapestry, their outlines sharp and surreal, creating a scene so breathtaking it feels like you have stepped beyond the edge of the world. Coyotes call to each other across the vastness, their voices echoing across stones worn smooth by ages. Here, the silence is not empty. It is full, resonant, humming with the ancient songs of earth and sky. In the Quiver Tree Forest, you are both infinitesimal and infinite, a fleeting breath in a place where time is carved in stone and starlight. Veiled beneath a skin of shifting sands and haunting stillness, the Badain Jaran Desert stretches across Inner Mongolia like a golden ocean, forever rippling beneath the breath of the wind. But hidden within its arid embrace lies a miracle no eye expects. A symphony of lakes, over 100 of them, glistening like sapphires in the sun. The lakes of Badain Jaran are impossibilities made real. Nestled between some of the tallest stationary dunes on Earth, rising over 500 meters into the sky, these bodies of water shimmer with mineral hues, ranging from deep cobalt to translucent emerald. No river feeds them, no visible source sustains them, and yet they endure year after year, reflecting the blazing blue of the Mongolian sky like fragments of another world. There is an eerie serenity in this desert. The dunes do not whisper, they sing. When the wind crosses their curved spines just right, the sand releases a low, echoing hum, an almost sacred resonance that local legends say is the voice of the desert itself. It's called the Singing Sand, and standing beneath a towering dune while it reverberates with sound is like listening to the earth dream. Nomadic herders still traverse this realm on camelback, their silhouettes flickering across the horizon like specters from centuries past. They know the secret oases, the wind's moods, and the paths carved not by compass, but by instinct and stars. Occasionally, they speak of temples sunken beneath the dunes, ancient ruins half swallowed by time, and prayers whispered to the lake spirits under a tapestry of stars. At night, the heavens open wider than imagination. The Milky Way spills across the sky in dizzying detail, unpolluted and unchallenged, mirrored in the glassy surface of a lake that has no name. You sit beside it, wrapped in the silence of a billion grains of sand, and understand why the ancients called this place sacred. Because here, in the middle of nothing, something impossible lives. From Ethiopia's heights, fall now into Iceland's heart, to a place where water moves like thought and color sings like thunder, the Studlagill Canyon, hidden in the remote highlands of East Iceland. It doesn't look real. That's the first thing that strikes you. The canyon walls are vertical pillars of basalt, rising in perfect hexagonal patterns like the organ pipes of a forgotten cathedral. They stretch skyward in rhythmic rows, dark gray and ancient, formed from cooled lava and sculpted by time. Between them flows a river that changes color with the seasons. In summer, when the ice has melted and minerals shift, the water turns a radiant, surreal turquoise. So pure, so impossibly bright, it seems to glow from within. You stare, and it stares back, silent and still and watching. You reach it by hiking through open country, past sheep-dotted hills and whispering grasslands, until suddenly the ground opens, and there it is. a canyon carved not by chaos, but by precision. Climb down carefully, and you'll find yourself dwarfed by stone. The columns rise on either side like sentinels, their textures grooved by millennia of wind and rain. You sit on one. You touch its edge, and it hums faintly, as if the earth still remembers its forging. It's quiet here. No crowds, no guards, no fences. Just geology exposed in its most intimate state, like finding the pulse of the world and listening close. And as the sky shifts from gray to gold and the wind begins to howl through the gorge, you'll realize the truth. The most unbelievable places on Earth aren't the loudest. They're the ones that whisper. In a narrow gorge cut deep into the limestone mountains of southern Albania lies a secret path carved by a whispering river. It's called the Lengarica Canyon, and if ever there was a hidden paradise tucked beneath the folds of Europe, this is it. Towering cliffs flank the gorge, their faces streaked with mineral hues, ochre, copper, ivory, like brushstrokes on cathedral walls. The river, shallow and crystalline, winds its way through pebbled beds and stone arches, cutting a ribbon of silver through a landscape that feels untouched by time. As you wander along its winding route, the canyon's secrets reveal themselves slowly. Natural thermal springs bubbling at your feet, long-forgotten stone bridges arching over the flow, and secluded pools shaded by olive and fig trees. In spring, the canyon is blanketed with wildflowers. In summer, it hums with dragonflies. And in winter, a frosty hush settles over its curves like a lullaby whispered by the earth itself. Above the canyon rests the village of Benja, its crumbling stone houses and terracotta roofs visible like forgotten memories perched on the hillsides. Time here runs slower, measured not in minutes, but in the rhythm of goats' bells and the rising steam of a wood fire meal. The Lengarica Canyon isn't just a natural marvel. It's a refuge, a sanctuary, a hidden realm where the world softens and the soul expands. The peaks of Enshi Grand Canyon rise with a quiet authority, draped in moss and mist, far from the reach of mass tourism. Located in western Hubei, Enshi is one of China's best-kept secrets. A canyon so colossal and so steeped in beauty, it borders on the mythical. Here, towering limestone walls soar to unimaginable heights, their faces streaked with age and mystery. The canyon floor is a wild maze of waterfalls, caves, and underground rivers, echoing with the distant roar of falling water and the chirring of insects deep in the forest. Walkways suspended along cliff edges defy gravity, offering views that blur the line between terror and awe. The air is dense with the scent of damp stone and wildflowers, the kind of aroma that only blooms in untouched places. Bamboo scaffolds hug the cliff sides like the veins of the earth, and rope bridges swing between rock faces, swaying gently above fathomless chasms. In spring, clouds roll through the gorge in slow motion, curling and breaking against the cliffs like waves upon an invisible shore. There's a silence here that goes beyond the absence of noise, a silence that hums with old power, with the hush of a world that hasn't forgotten how to be sacred. This place doesn't just stun you, it recalibrates you. Enshi doesn't clamor for attention, it waits, knowing that those who find it never forget. Let's travel over to Chamonix, France, a name that hangs in the air like a prayer, a whisper of something sacred. Beneath the towering Mont Blanc, the highest peak in Western Europe, Chamonix stretches out like a secret cradled between the arms of ancient stone giants. Dawn unfurls in brushstrokes of gold and rose, splashing color across glaciers that breathe and crack in the shifting light. Here, the mountains are not mere scenery. They are alive. They speak. They sigh with winds that tumble down icy cliffs and whisper through pine forests dusted with powdered snow. Every creaking step along the trails feels like a conversation with the earth itself, an echo of the alpinists and dreamers who once traced these same fragile paths. In the heart of the valley, streets weave through chalets adorned with wooden shutters and cascading flowers, each window framing a new masterpiece of nature. The Aiguille du Midi cable car lifts you into the belly of the clouds, where the world below seems a distant memory, softened into abstraction by swirling mists. At the Mer de Glace, ice grottos sparkle with surreal blue light, the frozen heart of a glacier laid bare for the brave to explore. In winter, the mountains gleam under a crystalline shroud, inviting skiers to dance their lines into the untouched snowfields. In summer, they awaken in a riot of green and wildflowers, the scent of alpine herbs perfuming the air. Chamonix is a place where the veil between dreams and reality is thinner, where each breath feels like communion, and every heartbeat echoes against the immensity of the wild. It is not simply a destination, it is an awakening, a summons to the wild, unchained spirit within. In the northeast wilderness of Heilongjiang, where winter bites with diamond teeth and the landscape wears a robe of white and silence, there is a village that burns not with cold, but with enchantment. Snowtown, China's very own fairy tale come to life, glows each evening like a lantern in the frost. This hidden hamlet, tucked into the mountains near the Russian border, becomes a different world when snow falls. Rooftops grow soft and round under thick white blankets, like whipped cream frozen in place. Lanterns flicker along snowy streets, casting ruby halos into the crystalline air. The light refracts through ice, creating a world that feels painted in moonlight. In Snowtown, nothing hurries. The snow falls in hushed cascades, softening every sound, until even voices become whispers. Wooden cabins puff smoke into the sky like dreams. Children in red scarves pull sleds past trees that shimmer with frost. And at night, the aurora sometimes dances, painting greens and purples across a sky so still it feels like glass. Yet this is not just a postcard scene. The people here are warm and more than spirit. Doors open to reveal glowing hearths and tables piled high with hot pot and dumplings. Locals share stories of tiger tracks in the snow, of winters past when wolves howled in the distance, of how this village began as a logging outpost and bloomed into something miraculous. There is a reverence for the cold here, not just survival, but celebration. Ice sculptures line the pathways. Steam rises from public baths carved into stone. Laughter drifts through the chill like music. And even the wind feels like it has learned to hum along. Snowtown is not a place you visit. It is a place you remember, dream of, and maybe, if you're lucky, return to, like a story that knows just when to begin again. Somewhere in the shadows of the Caucasus Mountains, where Georgia meets Azerbaijan in a quiet meeting of lands and legends, the hilltop town of Signagi floats above the Alazani Valley like a watchtower for forgotten dreams. Time moves differently here. You don't walk through this place. You drift, as if carried by the scent of grapes and the sigh of ancient winds. The cobbled streets wind like ivy between ochre rooftops and pastel balconies, each twist revealing a new vista. A monastery here, a crumbling fortress wall there, and beyond it all, a sea of vineyards undulating toward the snow-dusted ridges in the far distance. This is Kakheti, Georgia's winemaking heartland, where every stone has been stained with wine and memory. In the early hours, mist rolls in from the valley below, wrapping the town in a soft gray hush. You wake to the slow clang of a church bell, the creak of a wooden shutter, the gentle clatter of cups in a family kitchen. And by midday, the sun casts a golden sheen across the clay-tiled roofs, and the valley glows, 1,000 shades of green laced with river light. You'll find yourself invited in for wine, for bread, for laughter. The wine is homemade, the bread still warm, the laughter deep and generous. They don't offer it like a gift. They offer it like a duty, as if sharing joy is part of the land's unspoken law. And standing at the edge of the city wall, where swallows dive through the sky and silence hangs like music in the air, you realize Signagi isn't a town. It's a heartbeat, slow, steady, and utterly unforgettable. High above the clouds, where Peru's Andes stretch toward the sky in jagged majesty, the forgotten citadel of Choqquequirao sleeps in solitude. Often called the sister of Machu Picchu, it is its quieter, more elusive twin, just as powerful, but shielded by days of hiking, sheer cliffs, and an unforgiving sun. Few make the journey. Fewer still stand in its shadow. But those who do are forever changed. The stone terraces spill down the mountainside like amphitheaters built for gods. Llamas graze between them, oblivious to the awe they stir. Mist clings to the ramparts in the morning, lifting slowly to reveal a complex more vast than Machu Picchu, but untouched by tourism. No crowds, no noise. Just the sound of wind brushing against stone that has stood for centuries. Built by the Inca, reclaimed by the jungle, and now slowly being revealed again. Choqquequirao feels like a secret being whispered back into the world. You walk its pathways with reverence, touching stones placed with impossible precision, and feel the weight of history pressed gently against your chest. When night falls and stars flood the sky, there's only one word that fits: sacred. Beyond the chaos of the modern world, buried in the rolling deserts and steppes of Inner Mongolia, lies a crescent of emerald tucked between shifting golden dunes, the Arksan National Forest Park. It is a place few have heard of, and even fewer have seen, but those who have speak of it like a secret too beautiful to keep. Here, volcanoes long extinct have left their imprint in black rock and bubbling springs, their calderas now softened by forests of larch and birch. In summer, the meadows swell with wildflowers, carpeting the park in blues, purples, and the vibrant yellow of blooming rapeseed. The air carries the scent of pine, of distant rain, and of something ancient, the quiet breath of the earth cooling in the shadow of its own creation. Lakes, born of lava and time, sit in perfect stillness. Tianchi, the heavenly lake, nestled in a volcanic basin, reflects skies so wide they seem endless. In winter, the landscape transforms again. Frosted trees rise like crystal spires, and steam curls from the hot springs, veiling the land in a softness that borders on the ethereal. Herds of reindeer and red deer move through the trees, nearly invisible, their hooves whispering across the snow. There is no grand tourism here, no crowded viewpoints, no neon lights, just silence and space and stories written in stone. Arksan is a place that doesn't beg to be captured. It asks to be felt. The land remembers fire, remembers ice, and holds them both in balance. And standing there among the windswept slopes and still lakes, you too feel held by something immense and gentle all at once. In a forgotten corner of Japan's Honshu Island, nestled deep within the mountains of Toyama Prefecture, lies Gokayama, a village caught between the realms of history and fairy tale. The thatched roof houses here, known as Gasho Zukuri, rise like solemn monks in prayer, their steep, triangular roofs clasped in eternal supplication to the sky. Each structure is a living testament to endurance, weathering the weight of ferocious winter snows that bury the landscape in silence and white mystery. In spring, the melt reveals a hidden world. Gardens reawaken, rivers swell into glassy mirrors, and cherry blossoms drift like pink snow through the valley's crisp air. Wandering the narrow paths between the homes feels like walking through a memory older than any living thing. The scent of wood smoke curling through the air, the whisper of sandals against stone. Time folds strangely here. An afternoon can feel like a lifetime or a heartbeat. Lanterns flicker to life at twilight, their glow warm and flickering against the vast coolness of the mountain night. In the deeper folds of the valley, hidden shrines nestle among ancient cedar groves, their red torii gates bright against the deep green, weathered by centuries of reverent hands. The river hums with quiet persistence, threading its way past water wheels that once ground rice under the patient labor of the village. The spirit of Gokayama is not shouted. It is sung in hushed tones, written in the rough grain of timber, the cool mist rising from the fields, the soft laughter of children chasing fireflies in the dark. To walk through Gokayama is to step inside a living story, written in the language of mountain, water, and sky. High above the verdant sprawl of Sichuan's mountain jungles, where morning fog clings like ancient silk and the air is rich with the scent of pine and mystery, there exists a village suspended in time and stone. Wawu Mountain's hanging coffins. You arrive not by car or train, but by a winding path that narrows until it feels as if you're walking the seam between the known and the forgotten. Here, in this hidden realm where cliffs rise like the flanks of sleeping titans, an ancient ritual lingers in gravity-defying silence. The hanging coffins, dark wooden boxes affixed to vertical rock faces hundreds of meters above the forest floor, are remnants of the Bo people, a vanished culture whose rites remain shrouded in enigma. How they placed these coffins so high, balanced on stone outcroppings and wooden beams hammered into sheer cliffside, is a mystery that eludes even modern climbers. But their purpose, that's poetry. To elevate the dead above the earth, to send their souls closer to the heavens. The coffins themselves are worn with age but resolute, silhouetted against skies that blush pink and gold at dusk. Below, the forest stirs with unseen life, the distant call of a macaque, the rustle of wind through bamboo, the hush of a stream carving secrets into the moss. You stand at the base of the cliff, neck craned, and feel as though you're staring not at burial, but ascension. There is reverence in the air, thick as incense. The path winds through scattered shrines, each one a whisper from the past, inviting you to sit, to listen, to wonder. Not merely about the dead, but about the living who carried their ancestors here. Up jagged trails, along dizzying ledges, through ritual and firelight. The forest holds its breath around you, as if the trees themselves remember. And maybe they do. And then there is Cappadocia. But not the usual balloon-filled dawns, not Joraime or the fairy chimneys that flood postcards. No, deeper in this Turkish dreamscape lies the forgotten valley of Ihlara, a volcanic gorge carved by fire and softened by centuries of river song. It stretches for nearly 15 kilometers, a deep green wound in the beige skin of the plateau, its cliffs towering on both sides like storybooks cracked open. You walk through it beneath the shade of fig and walnut trees, with the sound of the Melondiz River dancing over stones at your side. Above, the cliffs are riddled with carved-out chapels, some barely visible until you get close, their entrances disguised by ivy and silence. Inside, frescoes bloom on the walls, still vibrant after 1,000 years, saints and angels painted in colors that defy time. The air smells of dust, water, and ancient faith. Birds nest in forgotten altars, and every so often you glimpse a monk's staircase, impossibly narrow, carved straight into the vertical stone. These were sanctuaries, places of prayer for those seeking solitude. Now they belong to the earth again, sacred, silent, still. At Belisirma, a tiny village along the trail, locals serve gözlemi and tea on riverside platforms that float gently above the current. You eat with your shoes off, your feet brushing the water, your eyes staring up at canyon walls that seem to hum with memory. The valley doesn't scream its beauty. It whispers, and if you listen long enough, it begins to sing. In the mountains of northern Vietnam, hidden among emerald rice terraces and cloaked in mist, the village of Phu Luong waits like a secret kept by the clouds. A place so peaceful that the rush of water over bamboo aqueducts and the rustling of palm leaves form the soundtrack of your journey. The air smells of lemongrass and earth, thick with the moisture of the mountains. Every turn in the trail reveals a new miracle, a hand-carved stilt house suspended above jungle valleys, or a sudden opening where golden fields stretch like a sea into the fading sun. Here, the Thai and Muong ethnic groups live with the land, not against it. They plant rice by hand and weave cloth with stories. Children chase chickens through terraced fields, and elders smoke pipes on porches overlooking the valley. There's a rhythm to Phu Luong, an unseen pulse that moves through the trees and into your bones. It's not just beautiful, it's alive. At sunrise, the valley glows. Mist clings to every hill like a blanket, and the light spills in through the canopy like warm milk. By noon, the sky is endless blue, and the waterfalls thunder like applause from the mountains themselves. In the evening, fireflies gather like scattered stars, and the scent of jasmine carries on the breeze. Phu Luong is not a place you find on a map. It's a feeling, an awakening, a reminder that wonder doesn't always shout. Sometimes it just whispers. If you follow the winding rivers and climb through the forgotten valleys of Guizhou province, eventually you reach a place that doesn't seem to belong to this world at all, Wanfenglin, or the forest of 10,000 peaks. But these aren't trees. These are stone spires, jagged and surreal, rising like the ribs of the earth from a basin so wide it feels like the center of an ancient myth. The peaks, some hundreds of meters high, stretch endlessly across the horizon, their silhouettes cut sharply against the ever-changing sky. Between them, quiet villages sleep amid emerald rice paddies that shimmer in the sunlight like broken mirrors. Water buffalo wade through flooded fields, and children run barefoot across narrow stone bridges arched like ribbons over winding canals. Morning mists curl around the karst spires, giving the illusion that they float, untethered, above the earth. When the sun breaks through, it spills golden light across the valley floor, igniting the green fields and casting long shadows across the otherworldly terrain. The stillness here is immense. Time feels thick, like honey in the air, and movement is slow, deliberate. Wanfenglin doesn't ask for admiration. It commands it with quiet, impossible grace. This is a land sculpted by eons, a masterpiece of stone and silence that few outside the province have seen with their own eyes. And once you do, the shapes of those peaks etch themselves into your memory like the strokes of a forgotten painting. One that tells you nature's most incredible work is not loud, it's hidden. Far across the Pacific Ocean, cradled by emerald peaks and the endless sigh of the sea, lies the island of Uapu, a hidden jewel of the Marquesas archipelago in French Polynesia. Towering basalt spires thrust into the sky like the broken teeth of sleeping gods, veiled in wisps of cloud and mystery. The land is an explosion of green, thick with breadfruit trees, hibiscus, and the heavy perfume of tiar flowers carried on salt-sweet breezes. Villages here are clusters of color between the jungle and the shore, where red-roofed houses overlook harbors the color of purest sapphire. To arrive in Uapu is to be folded instantly into a tapestry of story and song. Ancient chants that speak of warriors and voyagers, tattooed skin telling tales older than memory itself. The heartbeat of the island drums in the earth, in the laughter of children racing along beaches strewn with black volcanic sand, in the songs rising from communal gatherings under the open sky. Trails wind upward into the highlands, where moss carpets the stones and the air grows thin and sharp with altitude. From the peaks, the world falls away into endless ocean, a deep and living blue that breathes against the coral reefs, ringing the island like a protective spell. The spirit of Uapu is one of fierce pride and tender reverence, a place where the past is not forgotten, but lives vividly in every dance, every carving, every sacred stone hidden along forgotten forest paths. As dusk falls, the basalt spires catch the last dying light, their shadows stretching long across the island as the first stars blink awake. Uapu is not merely an island, it is a living dreamscape, a world unto itself, where the ordinary dissolves and only wonder remains. High in the mist-wrapped folds of Fujian's hills, where bamboo forests sway like the tides of a sleeping sea, you'll find strange, otherworldly circles dotting the landscape, earthen strongholds called Tulu. At first, they seem like ancient UFOs that have gently landed among the trees, their symmetry so precise, their presence so improbable. These massive round structures were built by the Hakka people centuries ago, as fortresses to protect generations of families from war and wilderness. Constructed entirely from rammed earth, stone, and timber, a single Tulu can house up to 800 people, an entire self-contained village, spiraling inward around a central courtyard, like the memory of a heartbeat. From the outside, a Tulu is formidable, thick earthen walls rising 4 or 5 stories high, windowless for defense, stoic against storm and time. But step through the wooden doors and a different world opens. Communal, warm, alive with clatter and conversation. Children chase each other along wooden balconies. Lanterns sway beneath tiled eaves. The scent of cooking wafts from open kitchens, mingling with incense curling from ancestral altars. Every Tulu has a soul. Some feel solemn and quiet, with moss-covered beams and creaking floorboards that remember every footstep. Others buzz with life, their inner rings crowded with drying herbs, red paper charms, and the laughter of grandparents telling the same stories to each new generation. These structures are living palimpsests, layers of architecture, spirit, and survival fused into circular harmony. They are not ruins. They are thriving homes, still alive with the rhythm of rural life. To walk into a Tulu is to step into the echo of centuries, where the world is both bigger and smaller all at once. It's a sanctuary not just of walls and roofs, but of lineage, language, and lives interwoven like the rings of a tree. Cross now to the raw northern edge of Portugal, where mist dances through emerald ravines and stone staircases disappear into cloud. Peneda Gerês National Park. It is the country's only national park, and yet few beyond the Iberian Peninsula have heard of it. That's part of the spell. This is not a manicured landscape. This is wilderness with history. Wolves still roam the higher ridges. Ancient shepherds' trails lead through shadowy forests, where oaks twist and lean like elders whispering to one another. Waterfalls pour from granite cliffs into crystalline pools so perfect, they look painted. The air tastes like moss and old rain. Every path feels like it's been walked for 1,000 years. Scattered through the park are stone villages that seem untouched by time. Soajo is one of them, a collection of slate-roofed houses cradled in a bowl of green, where cows still return home unchaperoned, and granite grain stores called espigueiros stand like sentinels on stilts. You eat caldo verde in family kitchens, hear folk songs sung in dialects few outsiders understand, and fall asleep to the sound of wind moving through pine. But it's the water that leaves the deepest mark. The pools of Poço Azul, fed by mountain springs, shimmer in hues that seem unreal, sapphire and emerald, pure and cold. You step in and lose your breath, not from fear, but from awe. Every stone beneath your feet is smooth as bone. Every ripple carries the memory of mountains. Here, the wilderness is not to be conquered. It is to be followed. And when you do, it rewards you with beauty that feels both eternal and immediate, like stepping into a dream your ancestors once had. Where the jungles of Central America brush against the mountains of Guatemala lies an ancient wonder hidden in the canopy, Semuc Champey. A natural limestone bridge spans the Cahabon River, and atop it, a chain of turquoise pools descends like a staircase sculpted by gods. From the forest floor, the water glows with an otherworldly light, too blue to seem real, as it slips quietly over polished stone. Surrounding it, the rainforest seethes with life, howler monkeys groaning in the treetops, hummingbirds darting through shafts of light, and butterflies with wings like stained glass. To reach Semuc Champey, you pass through winding mountain roads barely wide enough for one vehicle, through villages where Quechua Maya still speak their ancient tongue and sell handmade chocolate by the roadside. The limestone beneath the pools hides a roaring torrent that vanishes underground, carving caverns filled with echo and shadow. Some travelers explore them by candlelight, swimming through subterranean rivers, their flickering flames illuminating glistening rock formations. Above, the pools remain calm, serene, sacred, untouched. There's something transcendent about floating in those crystalline waters as mist gathers on the forest edge and parrots call from unseen perches. You forget time. You forget borders. You remember only that places like this still exist, sheltered from the noise of the world, waiting for those quiet enough to hear them.